even tolerating his fiancée sneaking off to Shrek to fool around with other men. This unparalleled genius with twin spirits and 5 soul rings is, in the end, nothing more than a stray dog kept by the 7 treasure glaze sect. When the young lady has had her fun outside, he'll have to gratefully accept whatever's left. Grandfather has broken through to level 96 and is stabilizing his realm now, so I won't disturb him. Uncle Jin, Uncle Feng, what's happened to make you so panicked? Uncle Jin, look for yourself. It's a message from the Shadow Guards in Suatua City about Rongrong. That girl Rongrong is absolutely out of control. Not only did she run off to that Shrek Academy, she's even involved with a food-type brat named Oscar. What does she take Yuer for? What does she take our 7 treasure glaze sex marriage contract as a game? Rongrong has been spoiled since she was little. She's always complained that Yuer is dull and boring. This time she's probably doing it deliberately to anger Yuer, to get a rise out of him. Even if it's just an act, it won't do. Yuer's talent is absolutely terrifying. Twin spirits, ultimate holy dragon, innate full soul power. If Old Bones and Yuer find out, our 7 treasure glaze sect will be turned upside down. So this news must be immediately contained. Absolutely no word can reach Uncle Gu or Yuer. You can't hide fire in paper. Old Bones has a terrible temper. What if there is no what if? When Rongrong gets back, I will personally discipline her harshly and make her cut all ties. I just hope Old Bones and Yuer are both in seclusion and haven't heard any rumors. Excellent. Level 96 peak. The bottleneck that's held me back for years has finally shattered. I'm only a step away from level 97. Congratulations, grandfather. Your aura. Level 50? You've broken through to Quasi-Soul King. It's all thanks to the power of the immortal herbs I just broke through. Wonderful. A 12-year-old Soul King. Come. Grandson, let's go to the main hall. I have to see the looks on Old Jin's and Fengji's faces. Old Jin, Fengji, come out and see my outstanding grandson. Old Bones, what are you shouting about? Your soul power is at level 96 peak. You've got good eyes. Now look at Yuer. Level 50? A 12-year-old Quasi-Soul King. Fengji, Yuer just needs one more soul ring now. By the way, Rongrong's been gone for a while now. Call her back so she can see how exceptional her fiancé is. Old Gu, Rongrong is currently out training and gaining insights. It's good for her. Yuer's soul ring hunt is more urgent, so let's not disturb her for now. Yes, Old Bones. That girl Rongrong loves to play. It's rare she's willing to go out and endure some hardship for training. Let her be. I'll personally help Yuer hunt his 5th soul ring. Uncle Ning, Uncle Jian, is Rongrong really just training? She's at Shrek Academy, getting close with a food-type soul master named Oscar. Do you dare tell me you didn't know? Fengji, is what Yuer said true? Did Rongrong really cuckold Yuer? Uncle Gu, Yuer, don't misunderstand. Rongrong was just momentarily confused. She's young and was fooled by sweet talk. Confused? She's 12 years old. She knows she's betrothed, yet she's still entangled with another man. Uncle Ning, is this the family discipline of the 7 treasure glaze sect? Yuer, how dare you speak to your Uncle Ning like that? Rongrong is still your fiancé. Fengji will handle this. Why are you harping on it? Uncle Jin, that's rich. What do you mean, harping on it? It's easy to talk when it's not your pride being trampled. If someone put a cuckold's crown on your head, would you be so magnanimous, saying it'll be handled, and let it slide? How dare you, Hanyu? How dare you speak to me like that? I'm just stating facts. The face of your 7 treasure glaze sect is sacred, but my dignity as Hanyu means nothing? What a sharp-tongued brat. Rongrong was just trying to get a rise out of you. It was a joke, and you dare spout nonsense here, even insulting this old man. Today, I'll teach you some respect on behalf of your parents. Get lost, old fool. You're asking for death. A joke? Using a cuckold as a joke? You old fossil. Have you lost your mind? I'll tell you, Chenixin, my grandson is a 12-year-old Quasi-Soul King. Is your precious disciple even worthy of him? If you so much as lay a finger on my grandson today, I'll tear your bones apart right now. You really think I'm afraid of your rusty sword just because I just broke through? He directly broke through to level 96 peak. How is that possible? Uncle Gu, your soul power increase is simply against all logic. Did you acquire some kind of peerless treasure? How I broke through is none of your concern. Right now, we're talking about Rongrong and Yuer. Sect Master Ning, since you think Rongrong's dalliance is just childish naivety, and since Uncle Jian thinks me being cuckolded is just a joke, fine. This engagement is annulled. Marriage is no trivial matter. Your parents entrusted you to me. This engagement was set by the elders. How can you just break it off? Entrust it to you? My parents sent me to the 7 treasure glaze sect to inherit, not to be a live-in son-in-law and certainly not to suffer such humiliation. From today on, Hanyu have nothing to do with Ning Rongrong. If she wants to carry on with some food-type soul master, that's her business, and none of mine. Insolent boy. Arrogant. Do you think the engagement of the Seven Treasure Glaze sect is something you can just break as you please? What, old fool, are you trying to force a sale? My grandson says the marriage is off. Then it's off. I dare anyone to force him today. If you open your mouth again, old fossil, I'll level this courtyard to the ground. Uncle Goo, please calm down. Yuer is speaking in anger. How can you go along with this? If this gets out, where will the Seven Treasure Glaze sect's face be? You're already shaming yourselves. Why fear others' talk? I'll tell you, this marriage is done. If you're worried about face, you can announce that you, the Seven Treasure Glaze sect, have cast my grandson out. I don't care. Grandson, let's go. Grandpa will take you to the Douluo forest for your soul ring. We're done with this lousy place. Uncle Jian, don't chase them. Fengji, are we just letting them leave? And that boy's talent, stopping them wouldn't change anything. Haven't you seen it yet? Yuera has no sense of belonging to the sect. Besides, our attitude just now has already frozen Uncle Goo's heart. He's at level 96 peak now. If we push too hard, the Seven Treasure Glaze sect could really be torn apart. Let them calm down for now. Our top priority is to send someone to Shrek Academy immediately and bring Rongrong back. No matter what, she must personally apologize to Yuer and beg for his forgiveness. Grandson, don't take it to heart. Once we get your 5th soul ring, Grandpa will take you traveling across the continent. There are plenty of fine young ladies out there. Grandfather, I'm not angry. Ending the engagement was something I thought through carefully. Grandfather, I want to leave the Seven Treasure Glaze sect. Grandpa knows we'll pack up and head to the Douluo forest. I mean completely sever ties with the Seven Treasure Glaze sect. And I hope you'll come with me. Yuer, are you serious? Leaving the sect is no small matter. Though Fengji and old Jin were out F-line today, Grandfather is perfectly clear-headed. Haven't you seen through Sect Master Ning yet? In his eyes, I'm just a stepping stone to pave his daughter's way. When conflict arises, he doesn't hesitate to sacrifice me and use moral coercion. If I go alone, he'll use you to control me. In this world, you're the only one who truly cares for me. If you're willing, the two of us can roam free. I'll build my own power that rivals the Seven Treasures. Nonsense. That old fool dared to bully the young. And that schemer Fengji is full of plots. I've been sick of this broken sect for years. You're right, grandson, let's go. We won't even pack. We'll leave right now. Grandson, can you imagine the look on Fengji's face when he finds out I've thrown away my elder's token and completely vanished without a word? His face will probably twist in regret. By the way, you mentioned building a power to rival the Seven Treasures. Where's the first stop? First stop, naturally, the Douluo forest, to get the 5th soul ring. Once I break through to Soul King, Grandfather, let's head to the Heavenly Do Imperial City. The Heavenly Do Imperial City? That's right in the heart of the Seven Treasure Glaze sect's territory. Going there would only stir up trouble. The most dangerous places often hold the most opportunity. The Seven Treasure Glaze sect relies on wealth and support abilities, but in this world, strength is what truly matters. Grandfather, I'm not the only one with immortal herbs. There are plenty of families in Heavenly Do City plagued by spirit flaws. I still have the octagonal mysterious ice grass and the blazing fire sunflower. After the soul hunt, we'll head to the sunset forest and recruit Douluo as well. I want Ning Fengji to watch with his own eyes as the Seven Treasure Glaze sect, the pride he cherishes, is crushed step by step under the feet of the very people he drove away. Good lad, you're planning to poach talent right under Fengji's nose and build a new power. Ambitious. Let's go, Grandpa will take you soul hunting. This old frame of mine is your strongest backing. Yuer, what attribute and year range do you want for your 5th soul ring? Preferably dark attribute or spatial. As for the year, Grandfather, I want around 40,000 years. How much? 40,000 years? Yuer? Have you lost your mind? The limit for ordinary soul masters is 12,000 years. If it backfires, you'll explode and die. Grandfather, have you forgotten the immortal herb? The herb I took has already tempered my body. Even 50,000 years, I could withstand it. If I don't break the mold, how can I surpass the Seven Treasure Glaze sect? Good lad, bold enough. Since you have that confidence, Grandpa will risk it all with you today. Dark and spatial, you say. Let's go straight to the border of the mixed area and the core zone. Whatever you set your eyes on, Grandpa will drag it out for you. Then I'll trouble you, Grandfather. Suppress your aura. Such a terrifying pressure. It's a 100,000-year soul beast moving rapidly from the outer area toward the core. Grandfather, relax. Put your spirit away. If I'm not mistaken, that's the king of the Douluo forest, the Titan giant ape. Why would he come to the outer area? Naturally, to pick someone up, a 100,000-year-old soft bone rabbit that has reincarnated in human form. 100,000-year soul beast reincarnated? Are you sure? I'm sure. The Shrek Academy team, which Ning Rongrong is in, should be in the Stardow Forest right now. That reincarnated beast is mixed in with them. It probably leaked its aura, drawing the Titan giant ape here. The Shrek Academy trash won't stop the Titan ape. Grandson, since we've stumbled upon such a heavenly opportunity. Grandfather, no. The Titan ape is protecting her, and the Azure Bull Python might be nearby too. Though I've broken through to level 96 peak, clashing with them in the core zone won't bring any advantage. What a pity to miss out on 100,000-year soul bone. Nothing to regret. Keeping this rabbit alive is far more useful than killing it now. Shrek Academy is protecting a 100,000-year soul beast like a treasure. This is a super bomb that could shake the entire soul master world at any moment. Once we've established ourselves in Heavenly Do City, this rabbit will be our trump card against Shrek and the 7 Treasure Glaze Sect. Let it live a few more days for now. Forget about the monkey and the rabbit. Today, we're getting you a top-tier 40,000-year soul ring. What's wrong, Yuer? Found a suitable soul beast? I thought it was something special. Just a 2,000-year human-faced demon spider. Barely enough to fill a gap between your teeth. Forget it. This silver one. In the original story, this is the human-faced demon spider that Tang San killed in a hurry to find Xiao Wu, which then dropped an external soul bone. Grandfather, wait for me a moment. You've got quite the killer instinct, boy. This is an external soul bone. Looks like my luck isn't bad. Not just isn't bad. Tease, heaven-defying. An external soul bone. This is a treasure second only to, or perhaps even rarer than, 100,000-year soul ring in the soul master world. And you just casually killed a 2,000-year spider and got it. Grandson, the heavens are feeding you with a golden spoon. Feeding me, indeed. But this thing was originally meant for some self-proclaimed genius. Without this 8 spider lance, Tang San's future trump cards for overpowering his enemies are going to take a big hit. Let's go. Put this spoils away quickly. Grandpa will definitely find you a top-tier 40,000-year soul ring today. Good, stealing someone else's fortune does feel satisfying. Grandfather, let's move on. Grandson, your luck today is simply unstoppable. Grandfather, what did you find? About 5 miles straight ahead, there's an incredibly strong dark attribute fluctuation, and the surrounding space is highly unstable. If I'm sensing correctly, it's a dark shadow evil dragon. Based on the soul power fluctuations, it's definitely over 40,000 years, and under 45,000. Practically tailor-made for you. The Dark Shadow Evil Dragon possesses dense dark attributes and some spatial control abilities, perfect for my Dark Holy Dragon Spirit. Wait here, I'll go capture it. Done. This brood is tough as nails. Took quite a bit out of me. So this is the legendary Dark Shadow Evil Dragon. Grandson, make your move. About 43,000 years old. Are you sure about this? This is a 43,000-year Earth Dragon. Its resentment and energy are extremely violent, far beyond ordinary soul beasts. Grandfather, just stand guard for me. Good. Excellent. Level 54. Not only did you successfully absorb it beyond your limits, but you even jumped 4 levels. Grandson, what's your 5th soul skill? 5th soul skill, Dark Shadow Dragon Transformation. An amplification type skill, not just amplification. It boosts all attributes by 100%, and while active, it makes me immune to any spatial lock-on, while all attacks gain the devouring effect of extreme darkness. Immune to spatial lock-ons and devouring effect? An absolute god-tier skill. With this 5th soul skill, you're invincible under Soul Emperor, and you could even hold your own against a high-level Soul Saint. At my current level, crushing a Soul Saint is no more than a wave of my hand. Grandpa Goo, you came for Rongrong, right? Just now, a monkey as huge as a mountain grabbed Xiao Wu. Please, help us kill it. Grandpa Goo, what's wrong? I'm Rongrong. Lady Ning, please show some respect. This old man can no longer bear to be called grandfather by you. Hanyu, you're here too. Did my father send you to apologize and beg me to return to the sect? For Grandpa Goo's sake, if you admit your fault right now in front of everyone and take back your words about breaking the engagement, I might consider forgiving you. Ning Rongrong, are you still dreaming? Or did that Titan giant ape scramble your brains? What do you mean? Exactly what I said. I came to the Stardow Forest for a soul ring, not to find you. As for apologizing, what makes you think you're worthy of an apology from me? Grandpa Goo, look at him. Please teach him a lesson for me. Senior Junior Tang San, our companion has been captured by the Titan giant ape, and we don't know if she's alive or dead. Please, for Rongrong's sake, lend us your aid. This junior would be eternally grateful. I've seen you before, so please lend a hand for his sake. I'll make it clear today, from now on, I have completely left the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile Sect and am no longer your elder protector. Leaving the sect? Fifth grandpa, are you joking? Who's joking with you? That brat Feng Ji wronged my good grandson for the sake of your willful, spoiled girl. He may value the glazed tile sect, but I don't. You are I cherish. From now on, I'll be a support for only my good grandson. As for you saving people, go find that dead monkey and fight for your lives. It has nothing to do with us. Not even half a spirit coin's worth. Grandson, let's go. Take your time looking. Your biggest trump card now has the surname Han. Xiao Wu, I'll spare you for now. When the time is right and I can absorb 100,000-year spirit ring, I'll come back for you, rabbit head. Why would Grandpa Gu be so cold to him? He used to dote on him the most. And that Hanyu, he used to be a dull blockhead who only knew how to train and couldn't squeeze a word out even if you beat him. But that cold, mocking look just now, and that calm, unhurried aura, it was like he'd become a completely different person. Rong, what's this about Han you calling off the engagement? Do you really have a betrothal? Yeah, if you have a fiancé, what does that make our Xiao Ao? You two have been making eyes at each other all this time. What fiancé? That was all my father's wishful thinking. Han Yu is just a boring blockhead. I don't like him at all. So then, you don't like him, so you deliberately got close to me? Were all those things you said to me just an act? I just wanted to make him back off. Who asked him to cling to our 7 treasure glazed tile sect so stubbornly before? So you really were using me as a shield to piss him off? Damn. So Xiao Ao was just a tool all along. Fatso, shut up. Xiao Ao, let me explain. At first, I really did want to use you to make high. I'm angry, alright? Is this really the time to argue about love and romance? Xiao Wu is still in the hands of Titan's giant ape, life or death unknown. Teacher Zhao. Uncle Goot Douluo left. What do we do now? There's no choice but to rely on ourselves. Xiao San, get ready. We'll follow the trail. Xiao Wu, wait for me. Xiao Ao, give me a mushroom sausage. I have a mushroom sausage. Xiao San, be careful. Thanks, Teacher Zhao. I'll go ahead. I'll leave markers along the way. This brat is completely reckless. What you all standing there for? Hurry up and follow. If something happens to Xiao San, how am I supposed to answer to Flender? Xiao Ao, please don't be like this. What I said earlier was just out of anger. Miss Ning, you don't need to explain. You're right. I'm just a commoner, a food-type spirit master. I really am unworthy of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect's young lady. I was being delusional before. I won't be anymore. That's not what I meant, alright? Don't waste any more time here. Saving people is what matters now. Rong, if you think the Stardow Forest is too dangerous, you can pull out and wait for us at the edge of the forest. Who said I'm pulling out? I'm a member of Shrek too. Then keep up and don't hold us back. We don't have Gu Douluo to be your bodyguard. Fatso, shut up. Everyone move out. You're all picking on me. What's so great about it anyway? The world-shaking dragon and snake didn't know that Lord Gu Douluo would grace us with his presence. We apologize for not greeting you from afar. I'm just accompanying my grandson to hunt spirit beasts. Go about your business. Senior Dragon Duke, Senior Snake Matriarch, this junior is Hanyu. Judging from this young lady's spirit power fluctuations, she should be close to finishing her absorption. Indeed, she is my granddaughter, Eren. May I ask what advice young Master Han has? Advice is a strong word. I actually have a tremendous deal I'd like to discuss with you too. I want to recruit you, your families, and the Beast Academy to join a sect I am about to establish. Young Master Han, although we, the world-shaking dragon and snake, have always been used to roaming freely, we even turned down an invitation from the 7 treasure glazed tile sect back then. What makes you think we'd condescend to join a sect that doesn't even have a name yet? Young Master Han, don't make fun of us old folks. What makes me think so? Because I can help you break through to level 90 and become a titled Douluo. What did you say? Senior Ming, you've been stuck at level 88 for many years, haven't you? Given the decline of your vital energy and blood, you'll never reach the titled Douluo realm on your own in this lifetime. And Senior Chao, you're similarly trapped at level 69, unable to awaken your spirit avatar. Your future is hopeless. What exactly are you trying to say? I have 2 peerless Immer Tao herbs in my possession. This 9-grade purple mushroom is enough to help Senior Chao strengthen his foundation and break through to level 70 in one go. And the other one can cleanse Senior Ming's marrow and meridians, shattering his bottleneck and propelling him straight to level 90. The 9-grade purple mushroom can only be considered a top-tier medicinal herb at best. It's far from an immortal herb, but that doesn't stop Hanyu from saying so. Just imagine, when a titled Douluo and a spirit saint join forces with their combined technique, the Dragon Snake Union. How terrifying would its power be? I dare say, even a super Douluo above level 95 would have to temporarily retreat. You would really be willing to give such divine treasures to us. As long as you swear allegiance to me, bring your families and the Beast Academy into my sect, I will present these 2 herbs to you immediately. My grandfather has already left the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, so my sect already has a titled Douluo in its ranks. Add you after your breakthrough. That's the foundation of 2 titled Dalu. Senior Ming, this is your family's only chance to soar to the skies and rival the top 3 sections. Submit or refuse. Senior Ming, the Yuan family, and the Beast Academy pledge to follow the Sect Master to the death. Thank you, Sect Master, for the gift. I shall serve you with utter devotion, even unto death. Grandparents, what are you doing? Who is he? Why do you call him Sect Master? Iran, be respectful. Come quickly and pay respects to the Sect Master. From today on, our world-shaking dragon and snake family and the Beast Academy have all submitted to the Sect Master. What? Grandpa, didn't you say our family would never depend on others? You didn't even agree to the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. How come? Girl, don't be nosy. The Sect Master is a heavenly being who has granted us unparalleled opportunities for breakthrough. Your grandfather will soon become a titled Douluo. Hurry up and bow. Titled Douluo. Iran pays respects. Sect Master Senior Ming, you 2 should return to the Beast Academy immediately and focus on secluded cultivation to break through. As soon as you both emerge, integrate all the resources of your family and the Academy and await my orders. Yes, sir. May I ask, Sect Master, what is our sect's name? Ling Tian Sect. Ling meaning above, Tian meaning heaven. What a brilliant name. My good grandson has ambition. This soul bones of mine will serve as your grand elder from now on. Then I'll have to trouble you, grandfather. Subordinate, see us off. Sect Master, Grand Elder, old man, we're really going to soar this time. Yes, Syrian, immediately pack up. We're going back to the academy to go into seclusion. The heavens of the Douluo continent are about to change. My good grandson, what you took out just now were real immortal herbs, top-grade medicines, and you just gave them away to that old snake. I am a bit reluctant to. But grandfather, you can't catch a wolf without risking a sheep. 2 herbs in exchange for a family with a potential quasi-title Douluo who possesses a spirit fusion skill. This deal is a sure win. When the Ling Tian sect is first established, we need ready-made support. A sure win. If that brat saw how you manipulated things so effortlessly, he'd regret it forever. Missing out, and a prodigy like you for that ungrateful girl. The 7 treasure glazed tile sect will only ever be a stepping stone under our Ling Tian sect. Ambitious. I believe in you, grandfather. Grandfather, we're heading straight to Heavendoe City next. Heavendoe City? My good grandson, are you going to see Poison Dalu directly? Of course. Half a month ago, we cleaned out his precious herb garden completely. That old Poison is probably hopping mad all over the world right now, not even knowing who did it. Aren't you afraid he'll go crazy? He can't. We're going to cure his poison. Cure his poison. That's right. His poison skills have long since backfired on him, and even his granddaughter, Yin, is suffering from it. I won't just cure his poison. I'll bring him fully under my command. Think about it, grandfather. With Meng Shu about to break through, plus you and Dugabo on top, as soon as our Ling Tian sect is founded, we'll have 3 titled Douluo seated. With such a foundation, we'd be among the top even on the continent. As for the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, they only have Ning Fengji left. Aside from money, what do they have to fight against my Ling Tian sect? Good lad, you've really got it all planned out step by step. Even that old Poison has been completely outmaneuvered by you. 3 titled, duh. Alright, let's head to Heavendoe City and watch that old Poison willingly work for you. Let's go to Heavendoe City and see how that old poison expert ends up working for you willingly. Grandfather, it's getting late. There's no rush with Poison Dough. We'll visit him tomorrow. Fine. After traveling so long, this old man's stomach is starting to protest. Grandfather, tonight I need to absorb this spirit bone. But before I absorb it, I have an even more important matter to discuss with you. Oh. What could be more important than absorbing an external spirit bone? The method to condense a spirit core. A spirit core. What's that? Simply put, it's compressing the liquid spirit power within your body into a highly dense, solid energy core. Once you condense a spirit core, your spirit power, recovery speed, density, and explosive power will all increase exponentially. As long as you have a spirit core, you're basically invincible against opponents of the same level. Invincible within the same level? Yes. Grandfather, after absorbing the immortal herb, your spirit power has already reached the peak of level 96. Just a step away from level 97. Yet you've been stuck, unable to break through. If you can't successfully condense the spirit core with the Civ energy released during the qualitative change of your spirit power, You'll very likely be able to shatter the bottleneck in a short time and break through to the great realm of level 97. Smoothly controlled. The absorption went well. Although I'm slightly dissatisfied that it's in the form of a spider leg, this is a 100,000-year external spirit bone, a future divine equipment. What's there to be dissatisfied about? Grandfather, how does it feel? A divine ability. Truly a divine ability. Grandson, just by condensing the prototype of a spirit core, the bottleneck of level 97 actually loosened. Give me a few more days, and I will definitely step into level 97 completely. Congratulations, grandfather. Once you condense the complete spirit core and stabilize your level 97 realm, if you encounter that Chinexian again, I'm afraid you won't even be able to break your defense. That old fool Chinexian. Once I break through completely, and we meet again, I'll have to snap that broken sword of his. Let him know who the real world's #1 defense is. Your external spirit bone has been absorbed completely too, fully fused. It will even evolve as your strength increases. Good. Double blessing. Come, grandson, let's go meet that poisoned Douluo now and see how he ends up as our Ling Tian Sect's laborer. Let's go, grandfather. By my estimate, Douluo should be at his manor in Heavendo City right now, worrying. We're going to deliver a big gift to him. Old Poison, hurry up and get out here to greet your guests. Old Bones, why aren't you minding your own business at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect? What brings you here to bother me? Did Ning Fengji send you to amuse me? I've already left the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect. Today, I've come with my grandson to find you. And what could a snot-nosed brat possibly want with me? Spit it out. I'm in a terrible mood lately. Senior, is your bad mood because about half a month ago, the herbs in the poison array at the Sunset Forest were completely ransacked? You did that. Old Poison, don't you dare show off in front of me. You're still too green. Just listen carefully at my grandson has to say. How could your spirit power have advanced to this level? That's none of your concern, Senior. The herbs you had were wasted on you anyway. You didn't even know how to use them. I'm here to give you a grand gift today. Grand gift? You stole my herb garden and still have the audacity to talk about giving me a gift. What if this grand gift can relieve the pain in your joints that flares up on damp and rainy days and the stabbing heart pain that comes in the dead of night? How do you know about that? I not only know that your body is being consumed by your poison techniques, but I also know that your granddaughter, Yin, has been poisoned internally. If untreated, she will absolutely not live past 30. Just who are you? My name is Han Yu. I am the sect master of the Ling Tian Sect. Join my Ling Tian Sect as an elder. I will not only completely cure you and your granddaughter of your poison, but I will also teach you secret techniques to further your strength. Submit, and you and your granddaughter will live. Refuse, and you and Yin can only wait for death. Old Poison, make your choice. As long as you can truly cure Yin, this old man will sell his life to you. Bo pays respects to the sect master. A wise choice. This is a medicinal liquid to suppress the toxins in your body. Take it first. I will teach you the complete method for fully extracting the poison later. This herb can only slightly ease Bo's situation. It's not even a temporary fix. Sect Master. Old Bones, there's one thing I don't understand. Given your position in the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect, and the unfathomable means of the sect master here, you two were above everyone else but below only one person in the sect. Why choose to leave and establish yourselves independently? Above everyone else but below one person? Ning Fengji, that old fox, is full of schemes. His precious daughter, Ning Rongrong, is even more arrogant and ignorant. She actually dared to give my grandson a cold shoulder. My Gurong's grandson is a peerless prodigy. Why should he endure such disrespect? The 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect, after all, belongs to the Ning family. They have money but lack the absolute military power to match it. To be subordinate is to ultimately be a blade in someone else's hand. So you want to hold the blade yourself? Exactly. I don't want to be subservient. I want to tower above heaven and earth. That is why I founded the Ling Tian Sect. Your forced submission this time might not be a bad thing. Though passive, it can bring tangible benefits to yourself and your family. Sect Master, what are our next steps? The first step is, naturally, to completely resolve the backlog. Sage from your martial souls, please instruct me. Sect Master, the poison of your Azure Serpent lineage is inherent to your martial soul. However, your bodies are not immune to poison. To solve the backlash, we need a container that can bear the poison without harming your bodies. A container? What vessel in this world could withstand my Azure Serpent's venomous spirit poison? Force the poison into a spirit bone. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? You already possess a spirit bone. Tonight, you can begin guiding the poison into it. Combined with a method I'll teach you, within half a month, the backlash will completely cease. As for your granddaughter, Yin, her poisoning is shallower. When she returns, I will personally choose a suitable spirit bone for her to completely expel the poison. Sect Master, This great kindness, Douluo will never forget. Go to the Heaven Do Royal Academy and bring her back. After we've cured her, we'll head to the Sunset Forest. The blazing Yinyang Well, there is a natural treasure. It is the perfect location to establish our Ling Tian Sect's headquarters. Excellent. With that natural barrier, old poison's poison array, and by guarding it, our Ling Tian Sect will be absolutely impregnable. I'll go get Yin right away. When you fetch her, be low-key. Don't leak any news. For now, it's best not to alert the Heaven Do Royal Academy, the Spear Hall, or the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan. Don't worry, Sect Master. I know how to handle it. Douluo and his grandson Hanyu are stated to establish their sect, and the other side shows the reaction inside the Seven Treasures Glaze sect. A messenger rushed to report that Douluo and his grandson Hanyu had officially declared their secession from the Seven Treasures Glaze sect and were establishing their own faction. Douluo exploded in disbelief. How could a man who had devoted his entire life to the sect suddenly betray it? He suspected outside manipulation, but the messenger insisted it was true. The news was already everywhere in Heaven Do City, and Douluo himself had made the proclamation, declaring that the sect was unworthy of his grandson's genius and that he would no longer endure the Ning family's humiliations. Douluo was incensed, dismissing it as a petty spat between children. Just because Rongrong had given Hanyu a cold look and some harsh words a few days ago, was old Gu really throwing away decades of friendship over that? Ning Fengji, however, saw it differently. He pointed out that Rongrong had been spoiled beyond measure. While old Gu treasured Hanyu above his own life, this was never just about one quarrel. Douluo still wanted to charge after the old man and force an explanation, convinced he had lost his mind. But Ning Fengji stopped him, asking what good a fight would do. Everyone knew old Gu's stubbornness. Once his mind was set, nothing could change it. Moreover, Hanyu was an exceptionally proud and unfathomably shrewd young man. This exit had likely been in the works for a long time, and Rongrong's tantrum had simply handed them a convenient excuse to leave with their dignity intact. Douluo then voiced the grim reality. With Douluo gone, the sect had just lost half of its top-tier fighting strength. If the Spirit Hall chose to strike now, they would be dangerously vulnerable. Ning Fengji immediately ordered a full-scale intelligence mobilization to track down where the pair had gone and what new sect they were founding. He also decreed that no member of the sect was to utter a single disparaging word about Douluo, no matter what even. If they could no longer be family, they could not afford to become enemies. Just then, Ning Rongrong burst in frantic, asking if the rumors were true. But before she could finish, her father cut her off with cold fury. He admitted that he and both grandpas had indulged her too much, but this time her willfulness had shattered half the sect's foundation. Rongrong tried to defend herself, saying she had only been angry at how Hanyu treated her and never meant to drive Grandpa Gu away. It was too late for regrets. Ning Fengji gave the final order. Rongrong was to be confined to the sect grounds for 6 months, forbidden from stepping outside even once without his express permission. In less than half an hour, Douluo returned with Yin. The girl was full of reluctance the entire way, still complaining about the people from the Yellow Beam team waiting for her, until she saw my grandfather and me. Only then did she stop warily. Grandfather? Who are they? Douluo immediately scolded her. Yin, don't be rude. Hurry up and pay respects to the sect master. Yin looked as if she had heard the most ridiculous joke. He looks younger than me, and you want me to call him sect master? When did we ever join someone else's sect? This old man has already joined the Ling Tian sect. From today on, you are also a disciple of the Ling Tian sect. Yin refused on the spot. She was the deputy captain of the Yellow Beam team, and behind her stood Yu Tianheng of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan. So naturally, she looked down on a sect she had never heard of. I didn't argue with her. I merely calmly stated her recent symptoms. She had abdominal pain on rainy days. Her meridians felt like they were burning during cultivation, and in the past 6 months, her soul power growth had slowed, even showing signs of regression. With each symptom I listed, the arrogance on Yan's face froze a little more. How do you know that? Because you and your grandfather are both being slowly devoured by your own Azure Serpent Emperor's poison. I can save him, so naturally I can save you too. Now, will you still refuse? She looked at her grandfather, and Douluo could only nod bitterly. Everything the sect master said is true. Without him, you wouldn't live past 30. Yin was silent for a long time, then finally put away all her pride and bowed deeply to me. Yin greets the sect master. As long as you can cure grandfather and me, I will follow your orders from now on. I took out a purple soul bone from my soul tool and tossed it into her arms. This is a 1,000-year snake-type soul bone. Its quality isn't the best, but it's enough to hold your current toxins. Yin held the soul bone, completely stunned. "You're just giving this to me?" Even a 1,000-year soul bone would cause countless soul masters to fight over it outside. A mere 1,000-year soul bone is nothing. As long as you serve the Ling Tian sect diligently, even a 100,000-year soul bone might not be out of reach. This statement left Douluo utterly speechless. She looked down at the soul bone in her arms, finally realizing that although the Ling Tian sect was newly established, its foundation far exceeded her imagination. The 7 treasure glazed tile sect possessed countless treasures, but they couldn't just casually give a soul bone to a newly joined disciple. What I had given her wasn't just a soul bone, but hope for her and her grandfather to survive. She bowed to me again, this time not out of pressure from her grandfather, but truly accepting the identity of the sect master. Douluo was so moved his eyes reddened. That night, he personally guided Douluo infusing with the soul bone and slowly forcing the toxins in her body into it. By the next morning, her previously pale and greenish complexion had regained a healthy flush. The burning pain in her heart's meridians had also completely vanished. The way she looked at me now held no trace of contempt, only awe and gratitude. We didn't waste any more time and immediately set out for the Sunset Forest. Passing through the emerald green formation laid down by Douluo, the ice and fiery Yang well appeared before me again, one side extreme cold, the other extreme heat. These two opposing forces maintained an eerie balance in the valley. This place wasn't just one of the continent's 3 great treasure grounds. It was also the most suitable starting point for the Ling Tian sect. The formation could block ordinary soul masters, and the well could accelerate the growth of medicinal herbs and continuously nurture new talents. Outside the valley was the territory Douluo had managed for many years. As long as we built the sect's structures, even if the 7 treasure glazed tile sect and the spirit hall came knocking, they wouldn't be able to easily set foot here. My grandfather released his soul power to cover the entire area, and Douluo stayed at the periphery to adapt to her right arm soul bone. I, on the other hand, took out the azure jade spirit vine and bloody remnant flower, preparing to remove Douluo's poison at its root. These 2 herbs could temporarily protect his heart and mind, but the real task was to force all the poison deeply embedded in his marrow into his skull's soul bone. I refined the 2 herbs into 1 clear and 1 white medicinal liquid and injected them directly into Douluo's body. Sitting cross-legged, I circulated my soul power to force all the toxins toward his head. As soon as Douluo closed his eyes, his body began to tremble violently. The toxins, like awakened beasts, counterattacked fiercely. Putrid green poison gas continuously seeped out from under his skin, corroding even the surrounding rocks until they were covered in dense, deep fissures. I pressed my palms against his back, using my soul power to protect his meridians and forcibly guide the toxins toward the soul bone. Half an hour later, Douluo suddenly opened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of foul-smelling black blood onto the ground. The hard rock was instantly corroded into a large hole. At the same time, a clear cracking sound suddenly came from within his body. Level 92. Feeling the surging soul power within him, Douluo was stunned. The toxins that had plagued him for decades had vanished, and even his stagnant cultivation had broken through at this very moment. In the past, every time he circulated his soul power, he felt a stabbing pain deep in his heart's meridians. Now that feeling was completely gone. His breathing was smoother than ever before, and the speed at which his soul power circulated through his body in one cycle was nearly twice as fast. What delighted him even more was that the Azure Serpent Emperor's poison compressed into his skull's soul bone hadn't weakened. Instead, it had become more condensed. With just a thought, he could unleash it like a true soul bone skill. The toxins in your body were originally your own soul power, painstakingly cultivated over the years. They were scattered throughout your flesh, blood, and internal organs, unable to be used and constantly eroding your body. Now, all the toxins are compressed into the soul bone, becoming controllable power once again. With this accumulation, a breakthrough is only natural. Douluo's eyes instantly reddened. He knelt before me without hesitation, knocking his head heavily on the ground. Sect Master, your grace in rebuilding my life is something this old man can never repay. From this day forward, my life belongs to the Ling Tian sect. Previously, he had chosen to submit because I held Douluo's life in my hands. Only at this moment did he truly pledge his loyalty. I helped him up. Since you are one of us, I naturally won't treat you unfairly. What I will teach you next is the true core of the Ling Tian sect's cultivation method. Soul core art. Douluo was full of doubt. He had lived for so many years and had never heard the words soul core. Ordinary soul masters cultivate soul power that is scattered throughout the dantian and limbs, requiring constant mobilization and recovery during battles. The soul core art, however, could compress all soul power into a highly dense form, creating a self-rotating energy core within the body. Once this soul core was successfully condensed, It would act like a second heart, continuously absorbing G external energy and converting it into the purest soul power. Recovery speed, explosive power, and total soul power would all be multiplied. When fighting against opponents of the same level, someone with a soul core would be almost invincible. If they could condense a second soul core in the future, breaking through to level 95 Super Douluo, or even impacting the level 99 Peerless Douluo realm, it would no longer be just a fantasy. Douluo listened, increasingly shocked, his breathing growing ragged. As a titled Dalu, he knew better than anyone the value of this secret art. If the upper three sects obtained the soul core art, they would hide it in the deepest parts of their sects, and even core elders might not have the right to know it. Yet I had given the complete formula and soul power circulation pass to him without reservation. Sect Master, this secret art is enough to change the entire soul master world. Are you really just giving it to this old man? Since you are of the Ling Tian sect, naturally you deserve the best. Mere soul core art is nothing. As long as you are loyal, there will be many greater opportunities in the future. Douluo tried circulating his soul power according to the path I had just taught him. The originally scattered power began to gather towards his danton. Although it was still far from condensing a true soul core, a slowly rotating vortex had already formed. The surrounding heaven and earth energy was attracted by it, actively flowing into his body. In just one cycle, the recovered soul power exceeded several times the usual amount. This personal attempt made him fully understand that the soul core art was no exaggeration. If he could successfully condense it, he might truly have a chance to step into the Super Douluo realm, which he had previously only dreamed of. Douluo clenched his fists, eager to find someone to fight for me. My grandfather, standing nearby, looked on with great satisfaction, his eyes even secretly sizing up Yin, who was cultivating. He thought the girl had good talent and a stronger character than Ning Rongrong, and he began to contemplate whether he should have me marry Yin, so that Douluo will be completely bound to the Ling Tian sect. I felt somewhat helpless. The sect had just started. Now wasn't the time to consider such things, especially since a lasting relationship should not be maintained by a marriage of interests. Seeing my lack of interest, my grandfather reluctantly dropped the idea. I let Douluo find his own place to condense his soul core, then walked over to the Ice and Fire Yin Yang W. And took out 2 prepared immortal herbs, the octagonal mysterious ice grass, and the fiery apricot jiaoshu. One contained extreme cold poison, the other extreme fire poison. Either one alone could instantly kill an ordinary soul master. Seeing them clearly, Douluo's face changed drastically. Sect Master, these 2 herbs are deadly poison. Even this old man wouldn't dare approach them lightly. What are you planning to do with them? Ice fire tempered body. I want to consume both immortal herbs simultaneously and enter the ice and fire yin yang well, using the extreme cold and extreme heat to refine my physical body. He had occupied this valley for many years, but had only ever dared to stay at the very edge of the spring water, using the dispersed energy to suppress his toxins. Even with a titled Douluo's body, he couldn't last long in the spring. My grandfather also frowned. Grandson, isn't this too risky? I never do things without confidence. Extreme cold and extreme heat are fatal poisons on their own, but once they achieve a true balance, they neutralize each other and become the supreme treasure for tempering the body. After saying this, without giving them a chance to stop me, I stuffed the octagonal mysterious ice grass and the fiery apricot jiaoshu into my mouth, chewed and swallowed. The terrifying power of the 2 herbs exploded instantly. Half of my body was covered in frost. The cold air first froze my skin, then rushed along my blood towards my heart. Simultaneously, the fire poison erupted in the other half of my body. Every inch of flesh felt like it was being drenched in molten iron. The frost would freeze the meridians, and the fire would burn them open. The fire poison would boil the blood, and the cold would solidify it in the next instant. The 2 extreme forces fought for control of my body. If either side gained the upper hand, I would instantly become an ice sculpture or a charred corpse. The meridians felt like they were being torn apart repeatedly, only to be reconnected under the impact of the 2 forces. Douluo instinctively rushed forward to save me. I endured the intense pain and told him to stop, then leaped directly into the very center of the ice and fire yin yang well. The spring water surged, swallowing me in red and blue. The extreme cold invaded the left side of my body, blood seeming to freeze solid. The extreme heat rushed into the right side, my organs feeling like they were burning. The 2 agonies alternated with every breath, one moment frozen in 1,000-year ice, the next thrown into a volcano's depths. My consciousness blur. Under this torment. But whenever I was about to lose clarity, the radiant holy dragon would protect my spiritual sea, and the abyssal dark dragon would open its maw to devour the unbalanced berserk energies. These 2 great martial souls, one guarding and one devouring, allowed me to maintain my last shred of awareness. This was no longer an ordeal an ordinary person could withstand, but I gritted my teeth. I circulated my soul power. The Abyssal Dark Dragon and Radiant Holy Dragon appeared simultaneously, one black, one gold, their gigantic dragon shadows spiraling above the spring. Their opposite and overwhelming dragon auras enveloped the entire valley. The Azure Serpent Emperor martial soul within Douluo's body was actually suppressed, trembling continuously. It was only now that he truly saw my twin martial souls for the first time. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, which the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan took such pride in, wasn't even worthy of comparison before these two sacred dragons. My grandfather stood on the shore, looking very proud and not missing the chance to mock Douluo for his lack of worldliness. As time passed, I had prepared myself to endure this agony for a long time, but then two strange forces suddenly surged from the depths of the spring. One was as domineering as raging flames, the other as gentle as cold water. They actively mobilized the surrounding ice and fire origins, transforming the originally berserk energy into something docile and pure. Streams of red and blue energy flowed into my body through my pores, continuously washing my bones and marrow, tempering my flesh, and even nourishing the bloodline of my twin sacred dragons. These two forces resonated strangely with my martial souls. The light on the radiant holy dragon grew brighter, and the scales of the Abyssal Dark Dragon became deeper and more profound. From the very depths of the spring came two ancient draconic cries, one fierce and domineering, the other cold and long. They didn't truly manifest, but they helped suppress the most violent parts of the spring water, as if they were using this body tempering process to confirm whether I was worthy of their attention. I didn't know where this power came from, but I felt they meant me no harm. With their help, the medicinal power of the two immortal herbs was quickly refined completely. The cold and fire toxins within me reached a perfect balance, and my physical body underwent a true metamorphosis. I had achieved the state of harmonizing water and fire, making me immune to all poisons. The ice-fire golden body was now mine. From now on, ordinary flames and ice could no longer harm me. Most toxins that enter my body would be directly refined by the ice-fire golden body. My physical strength had increased to a terrifying degree. Even without releasing my martial soul, I could withstand attacks at the Soul Emperor level. If I were to activate the Abyssal Dragon God form, combined with the 8 spider lances and my twin sacred dragons, there would be few people on the continent who could threaten me. I suddenly opened my eyes, pushed off the bottom with my feet, and broke through the water's surface, landing steadily on the shore. My grandfather rushed to my side first, checking me from head to toe. Only after confirming I wasn't injured did he breathe a sigh of relief. I clenched my fist, and a series of crisp popping sounds came from my bones. Red and blue light flashed beneath my skin. Not only had my body been reborn, but my soul power had unexpectedly increased as well. Level 55, level 56, level 57. In just one session of ice-fire tempering, I had broken through 3 consecutive levels. Originally, the main purpose of these two herbs was only to temper the body, not to bring much soul power increase. When Tang San took them back then, he didn't break through either. The fact that I achieved this result was clearly related to the mysterious power in the depths of the spring. Douluo stared at me like I was a monster. Sect Master, you really survived the ice and fire yin yang well, and even gained 3 levels? How old are you now? 12 years old, and already a level 57 Soul King. With the ice fire golden body, immunity to all poisons, twin sacred dragon martial souls, and the 8 spider lances, there isn't a second monster like you anywhere in the entire Douluo continent. My grandfather patted Douluo's shoulder proudly. Old Poison, following my grandson, there will be plenty of times that shock you. My grandson has the potential to become a god. This time, Douluo didn't argue. Instead, he bowed to me in complete submission. Sect Master, your talent is heaven-defying. This old man is utterly convinced. I waved my hand. Then I took 2 J-boxes out of my soul tool. Douluo thought everything he had received today was already the greatest fortune of his life. But when the 2 J-boxes were slowly opened, an even richer fragrance of immortal herbs once again filled the entire mountain peak. One of these herbs could cleanse the meridians and change Douluo's future talent. The other could help Douluo stabilize his cultivation and continue to impact level 93. Only now did they realize that everything they had just received wasn't even all of my welcome gifts. The first J-box contained a plant as white and pure as jade. The second J-box contained a purple-hued Ningxi herb. Just smelling the fragrance, Douluo's breathing, which had just calmed, became rapid again. These two herbs were true immortal herbs that could cleanse the marrow. After taking them, one could not only unblock meridians, but also enhance talent and soul power. The other was called 9-rank Ningji. Although not quite an immortal herb, it was a top-tier foundation-strengthening medicine, most suitable for stabilizing cultivation and breaking through bottlenecks. You and Duga Yin get one each. How you distribute them is up to you. The water immortal jade bone is extremely pure and best suited for young soul masters to improve their physique. After Duga Yin takes it, her meridians previously damaged by the Azure Serpent Emperor's poison will not only fully recover, but also become tougher than those of ordinary soul masters. The 9-rank Ningji is gentler and won't conflict with Dugabo's newly broken through soul power. It will allow his level 92 cultivation to stabilize completely. These two herbs appear different in strength, but actually correspond perfectly to their most pressing needs. Dugabo looked at the two boxes, his eyes reddening once more. His poison was already resolved, and he had broken through to level 92, yet I was still willing to give such rare treasures. This made him even more grateful for his decision to join the Ling Tian sect. After a moment of thought, Dugabo took the 9-rank Ningji. This old man is old. My talent and potential have already peaked. The 9-rank Ningji is gentle and just right to help me stabilize my level 92 realm. I want to leave the true immortal herb to Yin Yin. She's still young, and now that her poison is gone, if she can cleanse her marrow with the water immortal jade bone, her future achievements will surely surpass mine. I nodded. Since I've given you the herbs, it's your decision. Duga Yin held the water immortal jade bone, her eyes also reddening. She had been a genius at the Tiando Royal Academy, with a titled Douluo grandfather backing her. She had never felt she needed to rely on others. In just a few days, I had saved her life, given her a soul bone, and an immortal herb. She finally understood that joining the Ling Tian sect wasn't about losing freedom, but about gaining a path she had never dared to imagine. Thank you, Sect Master, for the gift. From now on, Yin Yin will swear her life to the Ling Tian sect. I told him how to take the herbs. The 9-rank Ningji could be chewed and swallowed directly, but for the water immortal jade bone, only the petals should be eaten first. During the absorption process, one must guide the medicinal power slowly, letting it wash through the bones and meridians inch by inch. Rushing to impact soul power would waste the precious effect of cleansing the marrow. Dugabo and his granddaughter remembered every word carefully, then found flat spots to sit and cultivate. My grandfather, watching from the side, couldn't help but ask me how many immortal herbs I had left. He wasn't worried about me using them up, but about me focusing so much on building the sect that I forgot about my parents, who were still searching for opportunities on the continent. I told him that the most suitable immortal herbs for my parents had already been set aside. The Earth Dragon Golden Melon prepared for my father could purify his Golden Earth Dragon King bloodline, and the herbs for my mother could similarly strengthen her ancient dragon martial soul. My twin sacred dragon bloodline had already reached its peak. Leaving these herbs for them would be of even greater value. My grandfather nodded in satisfaction. Dugabo and Dugu Yin soon began refining the herbs. I took another delicate box from my soul tool. Inside were only a few clear dewdrops, but they emitted a fragrance that seemed to refresh the spirit. The gazing through autumn waters dew. It couldn't directly increase soul power, but it could greatly enhance one's spiritual power and eyesight. Having just broken through to level 57, my soul power needed time to settle, and this was the perfect opportunity to use it to strengthen my spiritual power. The stronger the spiritual power, the safer it would be to absorb soul rings beyond my level in the future, and the earlier I could detect hidden enemies and soul beasts. My grandfather immediately released his aura to cover the area. Grandson, just focus on refining. Anyone who dares to disturb you, this old man will crush their bones. I dripped the gazing through autumn waters dew into my mouth. A cool sensation rushed into my mind. My spiritual world was cleansed as if by a heavy rain. The details that were once faint and blurry began to become crystal clear. At first, my spiritual power could only cover the periphery of the valley. But as the medicinal power continued to blend into my mind, my perception range began to expand rapidly. 1 li, 3 li, 5 li. The previously mixed and jumbled soul power auras were now separated into countless clear lines. I could distinguish the life fluctuations of each herb, gauge the strength of each part of the poison formation, and even lock onto a moving soul beast deep within the mountains. This change wasn't just about seeing farther. It was about mastering all information. Every herb in the valley, every wisp of soul power fluctuation, even the sound of distant insects fluttering their wings. All of it was now clearly within my perception. As the medicinal power continued to refine, my spiritual power broke through the Soul Emperor level, rushed into the Soul Saint realm, and finally slowed down at the Soul Douluo level. When I opened my eyes again, a wave of invisible spiritual energy rippled outward. Douluo and my grandfather both looked at me at the same time. As titled Douluo, they could naturally sense how exaggerated this spiritual power was. At the level 57 Soul King, with Soul Douluo level spiritual power, Douluo stared at me as if I were an utterly unreasonable monster. Sect Master, with your talent, you're practically leaving no room for the other Soul Masters on the continent to live. I didn't mind his shock. I turned to look at Douluo, who had just finished his cultivation session. After taking the 9-rank Ningji, his level 92 realm had stabilized completely, and his soul power had reached the peak of level 92, just one step away from level 93. Shortly after, Douluo also opened her eyes. The water immortal Jade Bone had completely transformed her body. Her original level 39 soul power had directly reached the peak of level 40, and the excess medicinal power was stored within her body. Once she obtained her 4th soul ring, there would be a second search. Since we were already in the Sunset Forest, there's no need to go elsewhere. I decided to hunt for her soul ring right here. For an ordinary soul master, the limit for a 4th soul ring is about 4,000 years. But her physical tolerance had long since surpassed the ordinary. A soul ring of around 5,000 years would be the most suitable for her. Her martial soul was the Azure Serpent Emperor, so the best choices were soul beasts with poison attributes or mental paralysis abilities. With 2 titled Douluo present, my grandfath, and Douluo, we could have our pick of soul beasts in the Sunset Forest. Leaving the ice and fire yin yang well, I spread out my soul Douluo level spiritual power completely. In just half an hour, I had locked onto a presence in the northeast. About 5 li away, a 5,500-year-old ghost-faced demon snake was lurking deep in the dense forest. Not only was it highly venomous, but it could also release neurotoxins and hallucinogenic venom, making it the perfect 4th soul ring for Douluo. Douluo and my grandfather both looked at me in surprise. Before they, as 2 titled Douluo, had even located the target, I had already accurately determined the type and age of the soul beast. The enhancement from the gazing through autumn waters was even greater than I had anticipated. My grandfather tore open a spatial rift and reappeared a few breaths later, carrying a thick, water bucket-sized black serpent. The spine on the back of the ghost-faced demon snake had already been broken by him, leaving it writhing helplessly on the ground. Douluo drew her dagger and stabbed it into its vital point. A deep purple soul ring slowly rose. At 5,500 years, this soul ring was far beyond the limit an ordinary soul ancestor could withstand. The moment it settled on Douluo, the residual ferocity of the ghost-faced demon snake erupted. Its malevolent spirit clashed within her spiritual world, while its purple-black toxins simultaneously spread rampantly along her meridians. An ordinary level 40 soul master facing either of these forces could lose consciousness on the spot. But Douluo remembered my warning clearly. Instead of rushing to suppress the soul ring, she used the medicinal power left by the water immortal Jade Bone to wrap and refine its savage nature. Her right arm soul bone also lit up at that moment, actively absorbing the toxins that had gone out of control. What was originally a dangerous absorption process instead became an opportunity to further strengthen her poison skill. Although Douluo trusted my judgment, seeing his granddaughter frown still made him clench his fists nervously. I reassured him, with the water immortal Jade Bone, Douluo's body has been reborn. This soul ring can't hurt her. The berserk energy only lasted a short while before calming down within her resilient meridians. Half an hour later, the 4th purple soul ring was fully stabilized. Douluo suddenly opened her eyes. A flash of purple light passed beneath them. Levy, L41, level 42, level 43. The soul ring's energy and residual medicinal power exploded simultaneously, pushing her soul power all the way to level 46. Douluo laughed heartily in excitement. Douluo herself couldn't believe that by obtaining just 1 soul ring, she had jumped 6 consecutive levels. Her 4th soul skill was named Ghost Face Enchanting Formation. Once released, all enemies within range would be affected by neurotoxins and hallucinations. Any soul ancestor of the same level who inhaled even a breath of it, the combination of poison and mental control gave her true trump card for fighting above her level and against groups. If combined with the Yellow Bean team's tactics, as long as the Ghost Face Enchanting Formation successfully covered the battlefield, Ling would handle healing, Tian would lead the frontal assault, and the opposing team would have almost no way to counter it. However, I told her to hide her true power. It wasn't to continue selling herself to the Tiando Royal Academy, but to use the Academy and the Yellow Bean team to gather intelligence on the young soul masters of the Tiando Empire and look for talents worth recruiting for the Ling Tian sect. Upon returning to Tiando City, I appointed Douluo as the chief elder of the Ling Tian sect, responsible for arranging poison formations around the sect's headquarters and continuing to stabilize his soul power, striving to break through to level 93 as soon as possible. As for Douluo, I told her to return to the Tiando Royal Academy, hiding her true cultivation at around level 40, and continue to stay in the Yellow Beam team. When the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament began, she would show everyone just how terrifying a disciple trained by the Ling Tian sect could be. Until then, she could still display strength between levels 39 and 40. She could not expose the immortal herb, she could not expose the soul bone, and she could not let anyone know that Douluo had completely joined the Ling Tian sect. The deeper this hidden card remained buried, the greater the shock it would cause when it was finally played. After Douluo accepted her orders, my grandfather asked me about my next plan. For the Ling Tian sect to grow, besides top-tier powerhouses, it also needed truly rare talents. The next day, I would go to the Tiando Royal Academy with Douluo. The target wasn't you, Tianhing, or the other geniuses in the Yellow Beam team. What I truly valued was the continent Stro. Ingest healing martial soul, the nine-headed begonia. The inheritor of the nine-headed begonia was named Yi Lingling, and she was also a member of the Yellow Beam team. Early the next morning, Douluo and I arrived at the Tiando Royal Academy. This place had the best cultivation environment in the Tiando Empire, but most of its students were spoiled noble science. Few were willing to truly work hard. Yi Lingling had a quiet personality and rarely mingled with them. Apart from the Yellow Beam team and her senior, Lian, she spent most of her time cultivating alone in the back mountains' secluded environment. Avoiding the academy's main paths, we soon found her in a sea of flowers. Yi Lingling was dressed in black, sitting with her eyes closed in the center of the flower garden. Hearing footsteps, she slowly opened her eyes. Her first glance at Douluo revealed that something had changed. Yin, your Azure Serpent Emperor poison is gone. Completely resolved, Douluo walked up to her. Not only is the poison gone, but I also got my fourth soul ring. I'm a soul ancestor now. A flash of surprise crossed Yi Lingling's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. She was genuinely happy for her friend, but then her gaze turned to me. Douluo told her that both she and Douluo had been saved by my help. Yi Lingling nodded slightly to me. Thank you, Han Gongzi, for saving Yin. But bringing her to see me must be for more than just thanks, right? This girl's mind was very sharp. I didn't beat around the bush. I came here today specifically for you. If your purpose is to recruit me, then please go back. The nine-headed begonia line has always remained neutral. I have no intention of joining any faction. The reason those forces couldn't recruit you before is that they couldn't offer enough leverage. I can break the curse of the nine-headed begonia, freeing your clan from the fate of having only one heir per generation. The calm composure on Yi Lingling's face vanished instantly. The higher the soul power, the more terrifying the healing effect. But this immense power came with a cruel curse. In any given era, only two nine-headed begonia soul masters can exist on the entire continent. Only when one of them dies can the next clansman possibly awaken their martial soul. This means that every inheritance is built upon the death of a loved one. Some clansmen possess top-tier martial soul bloodlines, but can never become soul masters in their lifetime, because two inheritors already exist. Yi Lingling knew from a young age that her own growth meant the departure of the previous generation. The deeper her strength grew, the heavier the guilt and responsibility she felt. That's why she had a quiet disposition and was unwilling to easily attach herself to any force. Countless generations of the Yi family had tried to break this limitation, but even their titled Douluo ancestors were helpless. What makes you think you can do it? Toxic Douluo also couldn't resolve the Azure Serpent Emperor's poison, but I saved both him and Douluo. What a titled Douluo can't do doesn't mean I can't. Douluo grabbed Yi Lingling's hand. My grandfather has broken through to the peak of level 92. My poison is completely gone, and my soul power is at level 46. The Sect Master's methods are beyond ordinary imagination. If there is anyone in this world who can save the Yi family, it's him. Yi Lingling was silent for a long time, the defenses in her eyes finally showing cracks. If you can truly break the clan's restriction, what price do I have to pay? Join the Ling Tian sect and be loyal to me. In return, I will not only free you from the nine-headed begonia's restriction, but also cause your martial soul to evolve. The words martial soul evolution shook Yi Lingling to her core. The restriction of the nine-headed begonia was essentially tied to the martial soul itself. If the martial soul underwent a beneficial mutation and was no longer the original nine-headed begonia, the rule of only two existing in one era would be naturally broken. I know of an extremely rare plant-type soul beast, and combined with a few special herbs, as long as you absorb its soul ring, you can guide your martial soul to mutate. This mutation won't weaken the nine-headed begonia's healing ability. On the contrary, it will compensate for its weakness of having no self-defense or enhancement abilities. Once successful, you will no longer just be a healer in the back of the battlefield, but a core figure irreplaceable by any sect. More importantly, when the very origin of your martial soul changes, the descendants of the Yi family will no longer be bound by the old rules. This isn't just temporarily suppressing the curse, it's severing it at its root. Although Yi Lingling still had some doubts, the hope of escaping her family's fate was too great. If you can truly do this, Yi Lingling and the entire Yi family will, from this day forward, fight and die for the Sect Master. I nodded in satisfaction. She was already at level 35 and needed to cultivate to level 40 before she could absorb the fourth soul ring. That would change her destiny. Yi Lingling originally thought she would have to wait a year or two, but the Ling Tian sect was in urgent need of talents, and I didn't have time for her to cultivate slowly. I opened my palm and took out another 9-rank Ningji. Although not a true immortal herb, it was enough to strengthen her foundation and greatly shorten the cultivation time for those 5 levels, allowing her to reach the level 40 bottleneck in a short time. Feeling the rich medicinal fragrance, Yi Lingling's breathing quickened. She had just agreed to serve me, and I was already presenting such a treasure to her. The medicinal energy emanating from the 9-rank Ningji caused her soul power, which had been stagnant for years, to fluctuate. Yi Lingling came from a special clan and had naturally been exposed to many rare herbs, but none had ever shown such obvious effects before even being consumed. She finally realized that my promise of a short-term breakthrough to level 40 wasn't just empty talk to get her to join the sect. This level of trust and value was something that none of the previous forces trying to recruit the Yi family had possessed. She accepted the 9-rank Ningji with both hands and bowed deeply to me. Thank you, Sect Master, for the gift. Lingling will never disappoint your expectations. Just as we were about to leave, a clatter of chaotic footsteps came from the small path. Schwebing, accompanied by a few noble hangers-on, swaggered over and blocked our way. He was under Tian Rinchue's surveillance, so he had always disguised himself as an ignorant and useless wastrel. But when someone acts apart for too long, the mask confused with the flesh. Seeing the 2 most unapproachable girls in the academy, both standing beside a strange young man, Schwebing's jealousy was barely concealed. He had only planned to maintain his foolish image and cause some minor trouble before leaving, but the way Yi Lingling and Yin looked at me turned his jealousy into genuine rage. One was the 9-headed begonia inheritor he could never get close to. The other had toxic Douluo backing her, a status that even his royal title couldn't suppress. Yet here they were, one in front and one behind me, even using the reverent title of Sect Master towards me. This was the first time Schwebing felt the urge to drop his disguise and take action. Yin, Ling, you normally don't even bother with this prince. How come today you're keeping company with some unknown pretty boy? Yan's face instantly turned cold. Schwebing, if you don't want a beating, get lost. Schwebing didn't leave. Instead, he had his followers surround us. Kid, this is the Tiendo Royal Academy, my Xue family's territory. The women this prince has his eyes on aren't for the likes of you. Lingling looked at him with pure disgust. Yin moved to block me, but I didn't even give Schwebing a glance. I calmly asked her, are these the good-for-nothing nobles you were talking about? Yin showed no mercy. He's Schwebing, the 4th prince of the Tiendo Empire. He does nothing but laze around all day. He can't do anything. He's a complete waste. Schwebing's face turned red with anger. He had been deliberately acting like a waste, but he couldn't stand it when others actually treated him as one. This was the biggest flaw in his disguise. Someone who could truly endure humiliation wouldn't lose their composure over being called a failure. But over the years of indulgence, Schwebing had developed genuine arrogance and tyranny. He thought he was still in control, but he could no longer tell which actions were an act and which were his true nature. This is the Imperial Academy, Yin. Don't think just because your grandfather is a titled Douluo that this prince doesn't dare touch you. And you arrogant fool. Strip him and throw him out of the academy. Several followers immediately closed in on me. Yan's soul power erupted. She was about to release her martial soul, but I raised my hand to stop her. Stand down. A few stray cats and dogs aren't worth dirtying your hands. Yin immediately stepped back respectfully. The nobles thought I was scared. The one in the lead threw a punch at my face. I kept my hands behind my back, only uttering a cold scram as his fist approached. The pressure of the abyssal dark dragon exploded outwards. The noble followers, who were only at the great spirit master level, didn't even touch my clothes. They all spat blood simultaneously, flying back like ragdolls for over 10 meters before crashing heavily to the ground. Schwebing's triumphant grin froze solid. Although he was pretending to be foolish, he he still had basic eyesight. Someone who could defeat several great spirit masters with just their aura? Who exactly are you? I am the fourth prince of the Tian Empire. Attacking someone in the Royal Academy is an insult to the entire imperial family. I walked slowly up to Schweb. Even pretending to be a fool has its limits. Do you really think just by wearing that skin of a wastrel, you can bite anyone you want? And at these words, Schwebing's pupils contracted sharply, his heart nearly stopping. His greatest secret, something no one should have known, was exposed by a stranger he just met. He could only continue to play his role, using Emperor Shuiyi and the royal knights to threaten me. I looked down at him. Don't mention a worthless fourth prince like you. Even if Emperor Shuiyi himself stood here, he wouldn't dare speak to me in that tone. If you want to survive under that person's watchful eye, keep being a good-for-nothing. And if you dare provoke me again, I won't mind helping the Tian Empire lose a prince a little early. Schwebing's legs gave way, and he collapsed onto the ground. He finally realized that I not only knew about his disguise, but also who exactly he was hiding from. If this secret ever reached Qin Rinchu's ears, all his years of playing the fool would be meaningless. What awaited him wouldn't be the throne, but an inescapable assassination. The look in his eyes when he stared at me no longer held a shred of royal pride, only the terror of a man whose secret had been discovered. Get your men and get lost. Schwebing didn't dare say another harsh word. He fled with his followers. Yi Lingling was worried this would bring trouble to the Ling Tian sect. I wasn't concerned. The mere imperial family of Tiando wasn't enough to be my problem. If Emperor Shuiyi is smart enough, he'll know how to discipline his son. I told Yi Lingling to go back and refine the 9-rank Ningji immediately. Once she reached level 40, I would take her to hunt for her 4th soul ring. But just as we turned to leave, Schwebing's hateful voice came from behind again. 3 deans. It's this madman. Not only did he assault Academy students, but he also tried to assassinate this prince. I stopped and looked back. Schwebing had returned, and this time, he had 3 soul Douluo behind him. The 3 deans of the Tiando Royal Academy, Ming Shenji, Jilin, and Bai Baoshan, were all veteran soul Douluo above level 80. Ming Shenji possessed the spiritual type Black Demon Martial Soul. Jilin's green sky vine could seal the entire battlefield, and Bai Baoshan's celestial furnace was famed for its defense and suppression. The 3 had guarded the Tiando Royal Academy for years, and their cooperation was so practiced they could even form a spirit fusion skill. Even an ordinary titled Douluo would find it hard to ignore their combined might. Schwebing, who had been sprawled on the ground just moments ago, now put on the airs of a 4th prince again. 3 deans. It's this madman. He not only attacked Academy students, but also tried to assassinate this prince. Schwebing deliberately concealed the fact that he had led the ambush against me, twisting my warning into an insult against Emperor Shuiyi and the Tiando imperial family. Dubiyan's eyebrows shot up in anger. You're the one who brought people to provoke the Sect master. He was just defending himself. Have you no shame? But the 3 deans didn't investigate the truth first. Seeing the fallen noble students and mindful of Schwebing's status as a prince, their first instinct was to question me. I watched him twist the truth, finding it somewhat amusing. I had let him leave, but he not only courted death but also dared to come back for revenge. Dubiyan was about to retort, but I stopped her. Let him talk. Let's see what else this foolish prince can fabricate. Ming Shinji frowned and stepped forward, asking me sternly whose family I was from and why I was causing trouble at the academy. Bai Baoshan also reminded me coldly that even if I was a guest of toxic Douluo, I had to abide by the rules of the Tiando Royal Academy. I didn't answer them. I thought you were just playing the fool to survive in a crack, which, although foolish, was at least a bit pitiful. Now I see you're not just an idiot. You're a vile, despicable little man. Schwebing's face changed drastically. The 3 deans also sensed the shift in the atmosphere. He quickly hid behind Ming Shinji, still shouting that this man was trying to kill him. Jilin, annoyed by the racket, ordered me on the spot to apologize to the 4th prince or face disciplinary action. Apologize? I laughed coldly. Does he deserve it? With those words, the aura of the abyssal dark dragon exploded from within me. A pitch-black dragon shadow slowly rose behind me. Schwebing, feeling the pressure of death, collapsed to the ground. Dean, save me. I didn't give him a second chance. My right hand instantly dragonized. A black dragon claw tore through space, aimed directly at his head. The faces of the 3 deans dropped simultaneously. They never imagined I would dare to kill a prince right before their eyes. All 3 released their martial souls simultaneously, 8 soul rings rising together. Their soul to a level soul power intertwined, forming a thick barrier in front of Schweb. Ming Shinji's spiritual power was responsible for locking me down. Jilin's vines bound the surrounding space, and Bai Baoshan's celestial furnace stood as the foremost defense. With these 3 layers of power stacked on top of each other, let alone a mere soul king, even a soul saint going all out wouldn't be able to shake it in the slightest. The black dragon claw slammed heavily onto the barrier. The roar shook the entire academy. Although the barrier blocked the first blow, I had already vanished from my spot. Schwebing, hiding behind a barrier, thought he was safe and even showed a mocking smile again. Kid, with the 3 deans protecting me, you can't even touch a hair on this prince's head. Ming Shinji also thought the outcome was decided. As long as the 3 of them worked together to stall me, the academy guards and other powerhouses would continuously reinforce them. But they had miscalculated from the start. The person I wanted to attack wasn't in front of that barrier. Ming Shinji barely sensed something was wrong when a spatial rift silently opened behind Schweb. I stepped out of the rift and appeared directly at his back. It was true that it would be difficult to break through from the front instantly, but my Abyssal Dark Dragon already controlled space power, and my 5th soul skill could even ignore spatial locks. All of the 3 deans' attention was on the front. They hadn't noticed that I had used a spatial rift to circle around behind the person they were protecting. The smug grin on Schwebing's face froze. You like hiding behind deans so much? I told you, you're just begging for death. My dragon claw slashed down. 5 deep, bone-deep gashes tore open his back. The dragon claw didn't just tear his flesh. The power of extreme darkness simultaneously invaded his meridians, continuously devouring his life force and soul power. If I went just a little deeper, his entire spine would be ripped out. I deliberately left him with his last breath. It wasn't out of mercy, but to let everyone witness the price of provoking the Ling Tian sect. Schwebing screamed and collapsed into a pool of blood, staining the ground crimson. The 3 deans were horrified. They had joined their defenses, yet couldn't even lock onto my figure. I flicked the blood off my dragon claw and looked up at the 3 of them. The person I want to kill, can you protect them? Ming Shinji completely lost his composure. Schwebing was, after all, of royal blood. If he died here in the academy, none of the 3 deans could answer to Emperor Shui. Subdue him, dead or alive. All 3 attacked at once again. Jilin's green sky vines erupted from the ground. Bai Baoshan summoned the massive celestial furnace. Ming Shinji released his 8th soul skill, the soul devouring maw. 3 attacks came from different directions, sealing off our escape routes. Ming Shinji's black demon maw targeted my spiritual sea. Jilin's countless vines wrapped around my limbs. Bai Baoshan's celestial furnace came crashing down from above. Spiritual attack, control, and frontal suppression. 3 forces descended almost simultaneously. This was the true trump card that had secured their positions as deans. Dubi Yin and Yi Lingling were forced back. Both of them turned pale with anxiety. Facing 3 veteran soul Douluo in a combined attack, they thought almost no soul master could escape. Dubi Yin wanted to tell Yi Lingling to stay, but while she went back to the sect to get Dagabo. But the battle had erupted too quickly. By the time they got back, everything would be over. As long as I took any damage, Yilingling would immediately release her healing soul skill. But the 2 soon realized that the person who needed healing was definitely not me. I didn't retreat at all. The Abyssal Dark Dragon's magic flame shot into the sky. As soon as Jilin's green sky vines touched the dark aura, they melted like snow. The huge celestial furnace crashing down from above was also forcefully held up by an abyssal dark dragon. Bai Baoshan's expression changed drastically. His proud 8th soul skill was actually being blocked by my pure soul power projection. I looked at the 3 of them. Did you misunderstand something? The reason I disappeared just now wasn't to run away. It's because I don't need to hide to kill you. The dark magic flame instantly condensed into a dragon claw. My 5th soul skill fully erupted. All my attributes increased by 100% instantly. Although the 3 dean soul power levels were far higher than mine, in terms of martial soul quality, attribute strength, physical body, and spiritual power, none of them could truly suppress me. Ming Shinji's spiritual attack shattered as soon as it entered my spiritual sea. Jilin's green sky vine was devoured by the extreme darkness. Bai Baoshan's prized celestial furnace also trembled incessantly before the abyssal dark dragon. Dark Dragon Emperor's heaven-rend claw. 7 black dragon claws tore through the air. Even space itself showed cracks before the strike. Sensing the aura of destruction, Ming Shinji immediately ordered the 3 to combine their defenses. But it was too late. The 3 deans were all sent flying backward. Ming Shinji's spiritual barrier shattered first. Jillian's green sky vines snapped inch by inch. The shadow of Bai Baoshan's celestial furnace was ripped apart from the center by the dragon claw. The remaining force continued to strike the three, shredding their protective soul power like paper and leaving deep black claw marks on their chests. Blood sprayed from their mouths. The proud combined defense was completely defeated by my single strike. The three deans of the Tiando Royal Academy had lost thoroughly and utterly. Lying in the rubble, Ming Shinji and the others felt genuine fear for the first time. They had cultivated for decades, had the best resources the Academy could offer. They were considered powerhouses in the Soul Master world. Now, all three of them together. What was even more unbearable for them was that I hadn't even shown a trace of fatigue from start to finish, as if that last strike still wasn't my true limit. Dugu Yin and Ling stood frozen in the distance, speechless. They knew my talent and methods were extraordinary, but they never imagined that at 12 years old, I could already defeat three-soul Douluo head-on. This was no longer just the strongest of the younger generation. This was stepping into the ranks of the continent's top powerhouses. I slowly retracted my right hand. So this is all the three deans of the Tiando Royal Academy amount to. Ming Shinji clutched his chest, his voice trembling. Who exactly are you? I didn't answer. I simply walked over to Dugu Yin and Ling and told them to come with me now. Before I left, I said only one thing. I left them alive today only because I need someone to deliver a message. If I had truly wanted to kill the Dark Dragon Emperor's Heaven Renclaw, just now wouldn't have only shattered their protective soul power. None of the three deans nor Schwebing would have walked out of here alive. You're far too naive. I let them live to carry fear into the Tiando Imperial Palace, so that before Emperor Shui Yi makes his next move, he must first consider whether the royal family can withstand the wrath of the Ling Tian Sect. As for Schwebing's life, I'm keeping it for now. But if the royal family dares provoke the Ling Tian Sect again, the next thing I tear apart won't be just a prince's back, it will be the entire Tiando Imperial City. Yet the two girls hesitated. After all, they were still students of the Tiando Royal Academy, and the incident today was too big. Leaving might bring trouble to their families. Taking the opportunity, Ming Shenji, lying in the rubble, tried to persuade Dugu Yin. Dugu Yin, toxic Douluo, is a guest of Prince Shuexing's residence. Prince Shuexing has always supported the fourth prince. If you leave with this fiend today, how will your grandfather answer to the prince? Dugu Yin's face paled slightly. Using Dugu to pressure her was clearly an attempt to force her to stay. But I laughed out loud. Your information is woefully outdated. Dugu is now a member of my Ling Tian sect. The faces of the three deans froze in shock. They had believed that toxic Douluo's ties to Shuexing would make Dugu Yin hesitate, never knowing that Dugu had already changed allegiances. I looked at them. Since you insist on using Shuexing to pressure me, then let Dugu go to the prince's residence for a proper visit. I'll be curious to see if he dares to demand an explanation from me, or if Shuexing dares to ask for one. Naturally, the confrontation will become clear the next day. But before he went to the residence, Dugu listened to Dugu Yin's recount of what had happened at the academy. Nonsense, utter nonsense. After hearing his granddaughter's story, Dugu flew into a rage. My life and Yin Yan's life were both given by the Sect Master. It's true that Shuexing saved me back then, but over the years, I've handled countless troubles for the Tiando royal family. That debt of gratitude was paid off long ago. From this day on, I, Dugu, am a man of the Ling Tian sect in life, and a ghost of the Ling Tian sect in death. Hearing these words, Dugu Yan's last trace of hesitation vanished. She had been worried about the conflict between leaving the academy and Shuexing, but now she understood that her grandfather had long since made his choice. It wasn't just because I had saved their lives, but because the Ling Tian sect offered the Dugu family a true path to the peak. If Shuexing dares to challenge the sect master over a worthless prince, then without the sect master lifting a finger, I'll be the one to cripple him first. I looked at Dugu, telling him to first stabilize his level 92 peak cultivation and prepare for tomorrow's visit. This trip wasn't to ask for an explanation, but to make Prince Shuexing face reality. The Tiando royal family thought toxic Douluo was still their obedient servant. I would personally shatter that illusion. Meanwhile, Ming Shinji and the two other deans, carrying their severe injuries, entered the imperial palace. After Emperor Shui Yi heard that Schwebing had been crippled, he immediately smashed his desk in a rage. Prince Shuexing grabbed Ming Shinji by the collar and demanded to know who had hurt Schwebing like this. But when he heard the name Hanyu, Shuexing simply refused to believe that a young man could have defeated three-soul Douluo in one move. Ming Shinji told him, however, that Hanyu possessed a terrifying black dragon martial soul and a spatial soul skill that could ignore defenses, and that the three of them had been severely wounded by a single strike from him, even when they fought together. Ming Xinji also told Emperor Shuiyi that Han Yu looked to be no more than 20, had a black dragon martial soul unlike any seen before, which was far more powerful than the blue lightning tyrant dragon, and that he could pass through spatial barriers. Whether attacking, defending, or in terms of spiritual power and speed, they had been unable to find any weakness. Emperor Shuiyi listened in silence, growing increasingly uneasy. A young, terrifying monster was far more dangerous than an aging titled Daluo, because no one knew how much he would grow in another 10 years. Emperor Shuiyi's expression grew darker and darker. What made it even harder for him to accept was that Han Yu had also taken Dugu Yin and Yi Lingling away. Prince Shuixing slammed the table. No matter what kind of Ling Tian sect it is, I'll go and invite toxic Douluo right now. We absolutely cannot let this madman leave Tiando City alive. Ming Xinji shook his head with difficulty. It's no use. Prince Shuixing's movements froze. Ming Xinji told him that Han Yu had already cured toxic Douluo and his granddaughter of the poison in their bodies. Douluo had defected to the Ling Tian sect. He would no longer obey royal orders. What was even more terrifying was that Han Yu had already recruited Douluo, the Gilded Dragon and Snake couple, and the entire Isho Academy. Yi Lingling and Dugu Yin had also chosen to leave with him. This speed of recruitment meant that Han Yu possessed astonishing resources that the Tiando royal family couldn't offer. Shuixing felt as if he had been struck by lightning, staggering back several steps. Douluo owes me his life. How could he betray me? Ming Xinji gritted his teeth and added, Han Yu also left a message. Shuixing's past favor has nothing to do with Shueben. He will personally bring Douluo to the prince's residence to see if you dare to demand an explanation. Prince Shuixing was trembling with rage and immediately requested the mobilization of the royal knights to surround and exterminate the Ling Tian sect. Emperor Shuiyi snapped at him directly. Three-souled Douluo couldn't even stop Han Yu, and now there's a toxic Douluo as well. Are you sending the royal knights to die? Shuebeng's usual arrogance has finally met its match. He brought this upon himself. Before we understand the Ling Tian sect's full strength, no one is to provoke Han Yu again. Prince Shuixing tried to argue, but Emperor Shuiyi told him coldly, if Han Yu really comes to visit, you will treat him well. Even if he puts a knife to your throat, you must smile and greet him. Prince Shuixing's legs went weak, and he collapsed to the ground. Early the next morning, Douluo and I arrived at the Prince Shuixing's mansion. The main gates were already wide open. Shuixing, surrounded by a group of stewards, stood at the bottom of the steps, wearing a smile that was uglier than crying. Your great arrival honors this prince's humble abode. I didn't stop walking and strode straight into the mansion. It seemed Emperor Shui had already taught him how to behave. Shuixing stood behind me, the humiliation barely contained. But remembering Emperor Shui's warning from last night, he could only lower his head and follow. None of the mansion's guards or stewards dared to stop me. Upon entering the main hall, I sat directly on the seat meant for the prince. Shuixing could only stand below and accompany us. This wasn't a mere visit. It was the first time the Ling Tian sect had publicly slapped the royal family's face. Shuixing's face was livid with anger, but he didn't dare retort. He could only explain that Shuebing had provoked the Han sect master and had brought it upon himself, insisting that he had no intention of demanding any explanation. Douluo stood behind me. The former savior. Shuixing, you saved my life back then, and I have intimidated the Tiando royal family for you for many years. Now that my poison is cured, I have joined the Ling Tian sect. Our relationship is settled starting today. It was true that Shuixing had saved Douluo when he was in danger, but Douluo had repaid that life by serving as the prince's guest elder for many years, dealing with political enemies and intimidating various forces for him, even binding the entire Douluo family to the royal chariot. That life had long been repaid through countless services. If Shuixing still wanted to use that favor to control him, it wouldn't be gratitude. It would be treating a titled Douluo like his personal servant. Shuixing gritted his teeth and could only lower his head in acquiescence. I sat in the main seat, picked up my tea, and took a slow sip. Looking at Shuixing, I said, I came today to say only one thing. The Ling Tian sect acts without restraint. You and Emperor Shui, you had better keep your people in line. If there's a next time, I won't mind letting the Tiando Empire change its ruler. The hall fell silent. My voice wasn't loud, but it made everyone present lower their heads because they all knew this was not an empty threat. A 12-year-old who could severely injure three-souled Douluo, backed by an ancient dragon and Douluo, could indeed sway the fate of the empire in the future. Shuixing wanted to rage, but his legs were trembling uncontrollably. Cold sweat dripped from Prince Shuixing's forehead. It wasn't until Douluo and I had left that he collapsed into his chair like a puppet with its strings cut. I need to see His Majesty immediately. In the imperial study, he told Emperor Shuiyi everything in detail. Emperor Shuiyi, furious, snapped his jade brush in two. Could millions of soldiers not level a single Ling Tian Sect? But Xuexing reminded him tearfully that Douluo had completely sided with Han Yu. And that young man's strength that's definitely more than just a title, though. Even if a million-strong army truly crushed the sect's stronghold, they couldn't trap me, who possessed spatial abilities. As long as I and Douluo escaped, and made a point of hunting royal family members and high-ranking empire officials from then on, the entire Tiando Empire would be in endless turmoil. An enemy who could defeat 3-soul Douluo head-on, that could traverse space at will, was far more difficult to deal with than thousands of soldiers on a battlefield. Emperor Shui Yi was silent for a long time, finally suppressing his murderous intent. Since he couldn't eliminate me, Emperor Shui Yi had ruled the Tiando Empire for many years and understood well that an emperor should avoid acting on impulse. Xuebing was just an unimportant prince, no matter how serious his injuries. They couldn't compare to the safety of the entire empire. Making two titled Dalu and a young man of limitless potential turn into sworn enemies just to vent anger for a son would be the height of folly. As long as the Ling Tian Sect didn't openly side with the Luo Empire, there was still room for negotiation. Dispatch an imperial decree. Select the finest soul bones, herbs, and treasures from the imperial treasury. Invite the crown prince, Xuexing, to personally visit the Ling Tian sect with gifts. Whatever Han Yu asks for, try to satisfy him. Xuexing couldn't accept that the mighty imperial family had to bow to me. But Emperor Shui asked him one question. If we don't bow, can you kill Han Yu? Xuexing was speechless. Since they couldn't eliminate me, they couldn't push the Ling Tian sect towards the Luo Empire or the Spirit Hall. The only thing the Tiando royal family could do now was to stabilize the relationship with the utmost sincerity, even trying to win me over to their side. At the same time, back at the Ling Tian sect headquarters, Douluo was just about to ask about the royal family's reaction when a clear, cold voice came from the main hall, showing off. I looked up to see a stunningly beautiful woman in a silver long dress slowly walk out from behind the beaded curtain. She sat down next to me, as if discussing something unrelated to herself. For a worthless prince and a useless old dog, it wasn't worth you going personally. She clearly already knew everything that had happened at the academy. The 3 members of the royal family. Will Shui Yi next send a large army to surround the Ling Tian sect? I shook my head. He's an emperor who knows how to bide his time. A head-on clash would hurt both sides, so he won't send TR. Oops. Instead, he'll send gifts and apologies. And the person he sends will have to be someone of sufficient stature. Xuebing had thoroughly offended me, and Xuexing was no longer qualified to act as intermediary. Emperor Shui Yi himself couldn't easily leave the palace. The only one who could represent the royal family without making me feel slighted, Crown Prince Xuexing. If I'm not mistaken, that prince, renowned for his gentleness, humility, and impeccable conduct, will soon be paying us a personal visit. I told Douluo to give the order. If the Crown Prince Xuexing comes to the Ling Tian sect, do not block him. Open the main gates to welcome him. I was very much looking forward to meeting this esteemed Crown Prince. Everyone in the world believed Xuexing was the best of Emperor Shui's sons. Gentle, cultured, humble, and flawlessly discreet. But I knew that the real Xuexing had long since vanished. The one currently sitting on the throne was actually the Spirit Hall's young master, Qian Renxue. The real Qian Renxue possessed the Seraphim martial soul and the backing of the Spirit Hall's enshrinement hall. She had infiltrated the Tiando royal family for many years, eliminating the other heirs step by step. Now, she was just one step away from the throne. If not for Xuebing playing the fool, he too would have already died in this succession struggle. She thought her disguise was flawless, but I had been waiting for her to walk right into the Ling Tian sect from the very beginning. He finally stepped into the Ling Tian sect. This was the moment I had been waiting for. Douluo led Xuexing into the main hall. On the surface, he was the crown prince of the Heavendo Empire, but I knew the person before me wasn't really Xuexing at all. He was Qian Renxue, the young master of the Spirit Hall. He stood before me, his posture deliberately low. Fourth brother offended Sect Master Han. I come on behalf of His Majesty and the Imperial family to offer our apologies. I didn't rise. I simply raised my hand, gesturing for him to sit. Qian Renxue waved a hand, and several attendants immediately carried forward a few jade boxes, 2 10,000-year spirit bones, 3 rare-grade medicinal herbs. He said this was a gesture of goodwill from the Shui region, hoping that the incident with that incompetent prince wouldn't damage relations between the Ling Tian sect and the Heavendo Imperial family. I didn't even bother opening the jade boxes. These things might be treasures to ordinary spirit masters, but to the current Lin Tian sect, they were far from enough. I looked at him. The Heavendo Imperial family said they would fulfill any request of mine, didn't they? What if what I want is the Empire's most sacred treasure? The smile on Tian Rinchua's face didn't waver, but my gaze sharpened. He asked which Imperial treasure I had in mind. I spoke 5 words directly. The Sea Sky Cosmic Mirror. Others only saw it as the Heavendo Empire's national heirloom, but I knew it was no ordinary treasure. It was the key to unlocking the Sea God's trials. For 100 years, the Heavendo Imperial family had been unable to use it. It sat in the treasury as nothing more than a dead object. But in my hands, it would open the gates to the Sea God Island. So whether Tian Rinxue was willing or not, I had to have it. The entire hall fell silent in an instant. He finally dropped that composed, effortless smile. The Sea Sky Cosmic Mirror is the Empire's most acred treasure, passed down only to the Emperor through generations. It is not something to be given lightly. I countered, didn't you just say any request? Or were those merely empty words? Tian Rinxue was silent for a long time. He had clearly realized that those spirit bones and herbs would never move me. Only genuine bargaining chips could keep the Heavendo Imperial family at the negotiating table. Though the Sea Sky Cosmic Mirror carried immense symbolic weight, in the eyes of Shui Yi and Tian Rinxue, it was ultimately just a treasure no one in the royal family could use. If they could use it to stabilize the Lin Tian sect and even secure my support, it wouldn't be a bad deal, especially since the leverage was entirely in my hands. He had no room to haggle. In the end, he agreed to go back and negotiate. I gave him 3 days. 3 days later, I wanted to see the Sea Sky Cosmic Mirror placed before me. I deliberately set the deadline tight, not because I was worried, but because I wanted to see just how far Tian Rinxue was willing to bow to the Shui Yi faction in order to keep his crown prince identity. If he actually delivered the mirror, it meant he saw the Lin Tian sect as a force not to be provoked lightly. If he tried to stall, I would make him understand that the Lin Tian sect had no shortage of ways to deal with the imperial family. As he turned to leave, he still wore that gentle smile. But I knew he hadn't come simply to make amends. He wanted to gauge the Lin Tian sect's strength and also confirm whether or not I knew his true identity. Unfortunately for him, he'd miscalculated. I'd known who he was from the very beginning. The more perfectly he hid behind his mask, the more I wanted to see his expression when I tore off that disguise with my own hands, when this proud young master of the Spirit Hall could no longer maintain his composure. The moment Tian Rinxue left, Ning Lingling emerged from the back hall. She had just finished refining the 9th grade spirit herb, and her spirit power had broken through to the 41st level. Her usually cool face broke into barely contained excitement. She asked me about the spirit evolution I'd mentioned earlier. Could it be done now? The 9-hearted Haitong lineage had been cursed for generations, forever locked into healing abilities alone. She had dreamed her entire life of shattering that curse. I told her that since she'd already reached level 40, there was no reason to wait any longer. Right now, I'd take her to hunt her 4th spirit ring. If this evolution succeeded, the 9-hearted Haitong would no longer be merely a support-type spirit that could only be protected by others. It would become a battle-determining powerhouse. Lingling nodded firmly. She understood better than anyone that this might be her only chance. Just as she was about to follow, Douluo hurried in from outside the hall. The 7 treasure-glazed tile sect master Ning Fengji, along with Sword Douluo Xian, are at the gate. They wish to see you. I glanced at Lingling. The hunt will have to wait for now. Ning Fengji certainly had a keen nose. No sooner had the Heavendo Imperial family left than he came knocking. I had Douluo show them in. As soon as Ning Fengji entered, he greeted me with that familiar tone of ease. Han Feng, it's only been a short time and you've already accomplished so much. You truly make your Uncle Ning proud. I remained seated in the main chair without even shifting my body. Sect Master Ning, that address no longer suits me. Since you're here at the Lin Tian sect, it would be more appropriate to call me Sect Master Han. The smile on Ning Fengji's face stiffened slightly. He had probably assumed that as long as he put on the airs of an elder, the past could be easily smoothed over. But the moment I walked out of the 7 treasure-glazed tile sect, he stopped being my elder. Now we were just 2 sect masters. Shin Xian's brow furrowed on the spot, and his sword aura pressed down invisibly. Hanyu, even if you and Old Bones left the 7 treasure-glazed tile sect, Fengji is still your elder. Don't be so arrogant. I looked at him. This is the Lin Tian sect, not your 7 treasure-glazed tile main hall. I haven't thrown you out yet out of respect for past ties. If you're here to talk cooperation, I might still give you some face. But if you walk in trying to pull rank on me, then don't blame me for leaving no room for the 7 treasure-glazed tile sect. Shin Xian's face darkened. Ning Fengji, however, raised a hand to hold him back, then began praising the Lin Tian sect, how in such a short time, it had not only absorbed the Gaishirlong family, but also brought the entire beast-taming academy into its fold. He said even he couldn't see through my methods. The intelligence he'd gathered these past days had clearly shattered his expectations. He had assumed that my grandfather and I leaving the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile Sect was nothing more than a passing impulse, and that once we faced hardship, we'd eventually come crawling back. But he never imagined that not only had the Lin Tian sect actually risen, it had done so in record time and gained strength that even the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect could not afford to overlook. I picked up my teacup. Just a few families and a couple of academies. The Lin Tian sect's foundation was thin, so I needed some people to fill the seats. Sect Master Ning, surely you didn't come all this way just to praise me? Ning Fengji finally put away his smile and asked, will the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect and the Lin Tian sect be enemies from here on, or friends? I set down the teacup. Whether we're enemies or friends doesn't depend on me. It depends on the attitude of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect. Ning Fengji was silent for a moment. Then, to my surprise, he actually admitted that the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect had been in the wrong from the start. He said Ning Rongrong had been too willful and had wounded my dignity. Chen Xian also softened his tone, saying that Ning Rongrong had realized her mistake. If I was willing to let bygones be bygones, once she came of age, the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect would still fulfill the betrothal agreement. They spoke as if they were offering me a final chance, as if Ning Rongrong's willingness to look back was something I should be grateful for, as if I would forget everything that had happened between her and Oscar and continue to work myself to the bone for the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect. I nearly laughed at that. I'm afraid I can't accept that blessing. Better give it to someone else. I, Hanyu, am not so pathetic as to go crawling after some spoiled young lady. Chen Xian's face turned livid. In his view, Ning Rongrong's willingness to marry me was already an act of grace from the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect, and I had just thrown it back in their faces. Ning Fengji fell silent for a long time. I pressed on, my voice flat. If I had amounted to nothing after leaving the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect, would you still be sitting here today, talking about marriage and apologies? Ning Fengji had no answer because he knew the truth just as well as I did. If I really had become a worthless failure, there would have been no apologies today, no renewed betrothal offer. The Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect would have cut me loose and never looked back. I met his gaze and tore his intentions wide open. You're here today not because you suddenly remembered old times, but because you've seen that the Lin Tian sect has grown into a real power. You want to use Ning Rongrong as a leash to drag my grandfather and me back into the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect, to keep working for you. Am I wrong? Ning Fengji, exposed so plainly, finally showed a flicker of embarrassment. He didn't argue further. Instead, he simply asked where my grandfather was. He wanted to see the old man in person. He was clearly holding onto a last shred of hope that my grandfather was merely in a fit of anger, and once he personally coaxed him, invoked decades of sect loyalty, the old man would return to the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect. Then he could use my grandfather to talk me through, and everything would fall back under his control. The next moment, the space at the back of the hall rippled faintly. My grandfather stepped out from the void, not sparing Ning Fengji a single glance, and stood directly beside me. When Ning Fengji saw this, his voice finally betrayed a note of panic. Fifth uncle, you left the sect without a single word. Are you truly going to abandon the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect? My grandfather simply shook his head. I promised the old sect master to protect you all those years. I've long since repaid every favor, every battle fought, every crisis resolved. Now the only family I recognize is Xiaoyu. Where he is, I am. The Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect can exist without me, but I will never stand by and watch my own grandson be treated as a tool or a pawn. My grandfather had only two descendants in this life, my mother and me. Chen Xian stared at him, his voice tight. Decades of friendship. You're going to throw it all away for this grandson of yours? My grandfather met his gaze coldly. Xiaoyu is my own grandson, my life. You all know perfectly well how you treated him. Don't ask me why I left. When he finished, my grandfather drew even closer to me, a gesture that said everything about where he stood. If Ning Fengji wanted to take him back, he would have to make me yield first. But that was never going to happen. Chen Xian wanted to argue further, but I cut him off. This is my sect. I will not allow anyone to pressure my grandfather in my presence, nor will I let them use the so-called greater good of the sect to weigh down on us again. The reminiscing ends here. Sect Master Ning, if you've only come to play on sentiment, then you're free to leave now. Ning Fengji closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the bitterness was gone. He finally dropped the marriage talk. The Lin Tian sect has risen fast in the Heaven-Do Empire, its momentum unstoppable. So, tell me, where do you intend to place the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect in the future? I plan to put the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect in its proper place. As long as you don't actively provoke me or block the Spirit Heaven Sect's path, I won't bother targeting you. But if you dare to scheme behind my back or try to suppress the Spirit Heaven Sect, then don't blame me for being rude. When that time comes, a few apologies won't be enough to settle things. Ning Fengji stared at me for a long time, finally nodding gravely. As long as the Spirit Heaven Sect doesn't initiate hostilities, the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect will never stand against you. He was well aware that my grandfather now was nothing like Qin Xin knew before. If grandfather truly set his mind to targeting the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect, even their protective artifacts wouldn't be able to withstand repeated spatial assassinations. As long as grandfather was willing, he could tear through space at any moment and appear anywhere within the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect. Ning Fengji couldn't possibly guard everyone all the time, nor could he block a level 96 super duel, so he had no choice but to back down. Ning Fengji turned and left. Before leaving, Chen Xian cast one last fierce glare at my grandfather, but in the end, he said nothing. After their figures disappeared, grandfather let out a long sigh. I smiled and asked him, "What's wrong?" Feeling reluctant, grandfather shook his head. "It's just that the past few decades felt like a dream. Now that the dream's over, I'll settle down and be a proper member of the Spirit Heaven Sect." I told him that the Spirit Heaven Sect would definitely rise higher and stand taller than the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Sect. Grandfather laughed heartily, saying he certainly believed in me. I turned and looked toward the main hall, telling Yi Lingling and Douluo to come out. Since Ning Fengji had just left, we couldn't afford to relax about the affairs of the Heavendo imperial family. I instructed Douluo to make sure that within 3 days, Hanhai Chinko and Zhao must be in my hands. If Qian Renxue dared to play tricks, she was to notify me immediately. Then I looked at Yi Lingling. Her 4th spirit ring and the 9-star seagrass were ready to go. We could begin now. Grandfather raised his hand and tore open a dark spatial rift, which slowly expanded in the main hall. I took Yi Lingling's hand and stepped through in a single stride. In the next moment, we arrived at the center of the Sunset Forest, at the ice and fire in Yongwell. One side was a scorching hot spring, the other an icy cold pool. These two opposing forces coexisted strangely within this valley. Every medicinal herb growing around them was imbued with the essence of heaven and earth. Yi Lingling still felt a bit dizzy from the teleportation, but when she saw the red and blue pools and the dense, rich spiritual energy filling the air, she was utterly stunned. I told her that this had once been Douluo's herb garden, and now belonged to the Spirit Heaven Sect. It was the perfect place for her transformation. The greatest flaw of the 9-star seagrass was that it was passed down through a single line and always possessed only one kind of healing power. Generations of predecessors had exhausted their efforts without ever breaking that limitation. But what others couldn't do didn't mean I couldn't. I pointed to a herb bee, why the spring, and told her to consume it directly, then sit cross-legged and quietly absorb it. Half an hour later, Yi Lingling opened her eyes again. She could clearly feel that her life force was much stronger than before. Her original flower bud appeared more solidified and tangible as her spirit powers circulated. Yet that single limitation still stood like an invisible wall. But I told her this was only the first step. For the 9-star seagrass to truly evolve, she would still need a sufficiently compatible plant-type spirit soul. Grandfather spread his spiritual power across the entire Sunset Forest. We searched for a long time. Ordinary plant-type spirit beasts were either too low in Enshan or their life force too mixed and impure. Finally, grandfather suddenly stopped his search and said he had found a target in the northwest direction. A 6,000-year-old by Tian Ling vine. This spirit beast was hidden deep within a canyon crevice, its vitality astonishingly strong, perfect for Yi Lingling. Grandfather tore open space once more, and we arrived directly at the bottom of the canyon. The emerald green vines coiled around a rock face, with faint red light flowing within the veins. The life force emanating from them was almost overwhelming. Grandfather even remarked that if he hadn't pressed his spiritual power inch by inch into the ground, this vine might have hidden there until it died of old age. I had grandfather leave it with one breath left and let Yi Lingling finish it off with her own hands. The oppressive aura of a tidal Douluo descended, and a massive skeletal hand appeared, firmly pinching the Bai Tian Ling vine. It didn't even have a chance to struggle before it was thrown before Yi Lingling. She struck its vital point with a single blow. A deep purple spirit ring slowly rose into the air. I immediately told her to begin absorbing it. The residual medicinal power of the immortal herb and the immense life force within the spirit ring erupted simultaneously. Just as the purple spirit ring was fitted onto her, the residual vitality of the Bai Tian Ling vine rushed into meridians like a tidal wave. Her spirit power and spiritual world were both impacted at once. Yi Lingling's body trembled continuously, but she never gave up. Finally, a rich, fragrant aura surged up from her. The single flower of the 9-star sea grass transformed into 9 flowers blooming at the same time, surrounding her. The dense healing aura almost filled the entire valley. Even grandfather couldn't help but take a few extra glances, because this was no longer just a change in an auxiliary martial soul. It was a fundamental evolution of the martial soul itself. The long-standing limitation of the 9-star sea grass lineage had been broken by her own hands. Yi Lingling was so moved that she knelt erect. Why in front of me? She told me that her 4th spirit ring was no longer just for healing. It was called blood vitality. It could not only instantly heal severe injuries, but also apply a life shield to a target. As long as the shield wasn't broken, their physical strength and spirit power would continuously regenerate. This meant that if she put this shield on her teammates, even in a prolonged battle of attrition, they could rely on the constant replenishment of spirit power to wear down a stronger enemy. And at the most critical moment, she could even pull a severely injured person back from the brink of death. This meant that the Spirit Heaven Sect had gained an extremely powerful life-saving asset. I told her to get up and said that this power was something she had fought for herself. But Yi Lingling said solemnly that from now on, her life belonged to the Spirit Heaven Sect. When we returned to the main hall, Douluo was already waiting there. He immediately noticed that Yi Lingling's life force was completely different. This former poison Douluo even felt, for the first time, that Yi Lingling possessed a life force comparable to that of a top-tier spirit beast. I told Yi Lingling to go into seclusion, first to stabilize her cultivation, then asked about the movements of the Heavendo Imperial family. Douluo told me that Xueqinghe had already sent someone to deliver a letter. He would personally visit tomorrow to discuss the Hanhai Chinku and Zhao in person. I had him reply that the Spirit Heaven Sect would open its doors wide tomorrow and would welcome His Highness the Crown Prince at any time. Late that night, grandfather asked me if I was really planning to go to Sea God Island after getting the Hanhai Chinku and Zhao. I told him that the Hanhai Chinku and Zhao was just a stepping stone. I was determined to obtain the opportunities on Sea God Island. As long as I got the Sea God's Trident, the Spirit Heaven Sect would have the chance to truly stand above the 2 great empires in Spirit Hall. The next morning, Meng Shu and Chao Tianxiang arrive at the main hall from the Yishu Academy. Both of them had completely different auras now. Meng Shu told me that the immortal herb had finally loosened the bottleneck that had stagnated him for decades, and he had now stepped into level 90. Chao Tianxiang had also successfully broken through to level 70 with the help of the 9-turn purple G. When they talked about these changes, their eyes were full of awe for me. They even swore in front of me that as long as the Spirit Heaven Sect needed them, neither they nor the Shu Academy would hesitate for even half a moment. Once they received their spirit rings, the Spirit Heaven Sect would gain a title Douluo and a soul saint. More importantly, their martial soul fusion skill would, with the improvement of their spirit ring quality, gain the power to challenge a super Douluo. That was the real reason I had personally led the team. I had them sit down first and told them that in a few days, I would personally lead them to the Stardow Forest to find the most suitable spirit rings. While we were talking, Douluo walked in from outside. Xueqinghe had arrived, accompanied by 2 guards whose auras were deeply concealed. I knew they were Ci Dun and Shimao, one skilled in assassination, the other in long-range spear thrusts. Both were Qian Rinchu's most trusted aides. Bringing them to the Spirit Heaven Sect was meant to give them more leverage in negotiations, and also to see just how many title Douluo I had around me. So I had him show them in directly. When Xueqinghe stepped into the main hall, his gaze quickly swept over Douluo and Douluo, finally landing on Meng Shu. When he sensed Meng Shu's level 90 aura, his pupils visibly contracted for a moment. I had him sit down and asked him directly, "Did you bring what I wanted?" Xueqinghe didn't beat around the bush. He took out an exquisite jade box and placed it on the table. My father is a man of his word. This is the Heavendo Empire's national treasure, the Hanhai Chinku and Zhao. I opened the box, and a blue light immediately filled the table. The crystal-clear blue, triangular prism radiated an immense, ocean-like energy. After confirming it was genuine, I put it away immediately. At that moment, I could clearly feel that within the Hanhai Chinku and Zhao slept a mysterious power. When the time was right and I found the right opportunity, it would truly recognize me as its master. I told Xueqinghe that I had received the Heavendo Imperial family's sincerity. As long as they didn't actively provoke the Spirit Heaven Sect, I would not interfere in the internal affairs affairs of the Heavendo Empire. The words sounded like a promise, but they were also a warning. If the Heavendo imperial family followed the rules, I could leave them in peace for the time being. But if they mistook my restraint for weakness, then the national treasure delivered today would be their final opportunity. Xue Qinghe then tentatively asked me what I thought of the current situation on the continent and Spirit Hall's recent movements. I asked him if he wanted the truth or pleasantries. He said the truth naturally. I told him that Spirit Hall was ambitious, and the two great empires were deeply corrupt, but none of that had anything to do with the Spirit Heaven Sect. Whoever stood in my way, I would crush. Whether it was Heavendo, Douluo, or Spirit Hall. Xue Qinghe still wore a smile, but I knew he had committed those words to memory. He had come today bearing the national treasure, ostensibly as a gesture of goodwill, but in reality, he was testing whether I would align with the Heavendo imperial family after receiving such a gift. I deliberately didn't give him that opening. He rose to leave, and I had Douluo see him out. Only after he had completely left the Spirit Heaven Sect's main hall did the tension in the room ease. I wasn't in a hurry to head to sea, God Island, because the Spirit Heaven Sect still needed 2 more spirit rings. The next morning, I brought grandfather and Douluo to accompany Meng Shu and Chao Tianxiang into the Stardo forest. As soon as we reached the border between the mixed zone and the core zone, I had grandfather and Douluo release their auras simultaneously. Within 100 miles, the forest fell into dead silence as countless spirit beasts fled in panic. From a swamp on the right, a sudden sound came. Douluo glanced over and told me it was a 40,000-year-old black poison of spiny boa. Chao Tianxiang's 7th spirit ring. We'll choose that one. I looked at the giant serpent in the swamp and spoke slowly. Elder Douluo, it's yours. Douluo heard my command, and his figure had already charged into that swamp. A dozen breaths later, a dull thud came from deep within the swamp. That 40,000-year-old black venom porcupine was sent flying and slammed heavily in front of us, tightly wrapped in green toxins. Its entire body of scales was seeping blood, and the massive venomous spine on its tail was firmly suppressed by Douluo. Chao Tianxiang didn't waste any time. She drew her serpent blade and thrust it into the giant serpent's vital spot. A deep, profound black soul ring slowly rose into the air. She sat down cross-legged and began absorbing her 7th soul ring. This soul ring was clearly right at the limit of what her current body could withstand. Black soul power traveled along the serpent blade, and her martial soul, which originally only possessed toxicity and speed, began to emanate a more ferocious aura. The 7th soul ring represents the martial soul true body. Once absorbed successfully, her combat style will completely change. Douluo, meanwhile, set up a poisonous formation around the area to prevent other soul beasts from approaching. He even compressed the poison into several barriers, blocking off all possible approaching auras. As long as no tidal Douluo personally barged in, no one could disturb Chao Tianxiang. I thought today's first soul ring was already secured. But just then, a deafening roar suddenly erupted from deep within the forest. The entire sea of trees shook violently. A surge of dark golden energy shot into the sky, and an intense dragon's might, even from dozens of miles away, still pressed down on one's chest, making it hard to breathe. That aura wasn't just dragon might. It was also mixed with a heavy metallic presence, as if a mountain was moving towards us. Upon sensing this aura, Meng Shu grew visibly excited. This definitely exceeds 70,000 years, and it's also a sub-dragon of the earth and metal attributes. I closed my eyes to sense it for a moment and quickly confirmed its identity. The dark golden armor dragon, nearly 85,000 years old. This is exactly the 9th soul ring Meng Shu wanted most. Although this sub-dragon's bloodline isn't comparable to a true dragon's, it possesses the continent's most Dingjian defense among soul beasts. Coupled with its earth and metal dual attributes, its scale armor has almost no obvious weaknesses. If it weren't for grandfather personally making a move, Meng Shu wouldn't even be able to get close to it. Hearing my judgment, grandfather laughed heartily. So what if it's 80,000 years? As long as it's not those 2 overlords deep in the Stardo forest, I dare to dismantle this dragon's bones today. No sooner had he finished speaking than he tore through space and charged towards the direction of the roar. I had Chao Tianxiang stay, put to absorb her soul ring. Douluo raised his hand and released a circle of poison barrier, firmly protecting Chao Tianxiang at the center. Any ordinary 10,000-year soul beast that dared to approach would be instantly poisoned. Then, Meng Shu followed me and Douluo towards the direction of the roar. By the time we reached the edge of the battlefield, the dense forest before us had been reduced to ruins. The ground was covered in craters. Countless giant trees snapped in half. In midair, grandfather was locked in a brutal clash with a nearly 30-meter-long colossal beast. The dark golden armor dragon was covered in thick, heavy armor, like a moving metal fortress. Every step It left deep impressions in the ground. I directly reminded Grandfather, "Stop playing around. End it quickly." Grandfather agreed verbally, but the very next second, he released his ninth soul skill, Transformation of the Divine Dragon. An enormous white bone dragon, massive enough to blot out the sky and sun, descended from the void with a thunderous boom. Its terrifying pressure instantly suppressed the dark golden armor dragon, leaving it unable to escape no matter how it struggled. Grandfather yelled at Ming Shu, "Go!" Pierce the reverse scale under its neck. Ming Shu didn't hesitate for a second. He summoned his dragon head cane and charged forward. The cane precisely pierced the dark golden armor dragon's vital point. The colossal beast let out an unwilling wail, its massive body convulsing violently a few times before finally losing all signs of life. A profound pitch-black soul ring of immense depth slowly coalesced above its corpse. The soul power fluctuation was so violent that even Douluo warned, the soul shock of an 85,000-year-old soul ring isn't something an ordinary soul master can withstand. But Ming Shu just looked at me and said, "Sect leader, you and the two seniors have given me this great opportunity. If I see it and even get past this hurdle, I don't deserve to be the Grand Elder of Sect." I told him to guard his spiritual platform. "Calm your mind and absorb it. If you do, you will become a true dragon Douluo." Ming Shu sat down cross-legged and slowly guided that violent black ring toward his martial soul. The moment the soul ring enveloped the dragon head cane, the residual ferocity of the dark golden armor dragon erupted completely. Ming Shu was drenched in sweat, blood beads constantly seeping from his skin. His body looked like it could be torn apart by that power at any moment. His first through eighth soul rings were all suppressed by the power of this final black ring. The dragon head cane seemed to come alive, constantly emitting a low dragon's groan. Every soul power collision felt like a dragon rampaging inside him. Grandfather watched with furrowed brows, but Douluo just snorted coldly. If he can't even endure this much suffering, how could he be worthy of being the Grand Elder of Sect? I never made a move because I knew that what Ming Shu truly lacked was never talent, but an opportunity to fight desperately for advancement. Just as his aura was about to collapse, high-pitched, defiant dragon's roar suddenly erupted from within his body. The raging dark gold energy instantly converged. 9 soul rings appeared one after another beneath his feet. The rim of that final black soul ring even shimmered with a faint, piercing red light. Ming Shu's eyes snapped open. The aura of a tidal Douluo instantly swept across the entire ruins. Overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down his face, he knelt on one knee before me. "Sect leader, this old man has finally broken through." I told him to stand up and then asked him, "What rank are you now?" Feeling the surging soul power within him, Ming Shu respectfully replied, "Rank 91. Not only did this soul ring strengthen my defense, but it also brought a new skill, the Dark Golden Annihilation Strike. Once I lock onto a target, I can concentrate all the destructive power of the Dark Golden Armor Dragon into a single attack. The earth and metal forces are compressed into a single point, resulting in extremely explosive power and armor-piercing capability. If combined with Chao Tianxiang's Venom Cores, we could first trap the enemy and then use this strike to directly tear through their defenses. It would be very difficult for an ordinary rank 92 or 93 title Douluo to withstand this head-on. From this moment on, Ming Shu was no longer the Dragon Lord who had been stuck at the peak of the Soul Douluo rank, unable to take that final step, but a true rank 91 Dragon Douluo. Upon returning to the sect, he would officially assume the position of Grand Elder of the Haotian sect alongside Grandfather. Those who once looked down on the Ming family would have to look up to him from now on. When we returned to the swamp, Chao Tianxiang had also just finished her absorption. A black soul ring now appeared beneath her feet. The power of the martial soul true body swirled around her, and her entire presence became much sharper. The 7th soul ring granted her the true martial soul true body, and her aura and soul power intensity had significantly increased compared to before absorption. Seeing this, Douluo nodded in satisfaction. This means Tianxiang's soul ring is a perfect match for her martial soul. Seeing the 9 soul rings beneath Uncle Ming, she was stunned for a moment, then excitedly rushed over to him. Uncle Ming laughed heartily and told her that he had successfully broken through. Now, one of us is a title Douluo, and the other has the 7th soul ring, the martial soul true body. Their dragon snake combination attack would already be enough to contend with a rank 95 super Douluo. Alone, Ming Shu might still be an ordinary title Douluo, but once they performed their martial soul fusion with Chao Tianxiang, both of their powers would simultaneously cross a threshold. This was the truly terrifying aspect of the world-conquering dragon and snake. Ming Shu immediately assured me that from now on, should the Haotian sect face any powerful enemy, they would be at the forefront. I nodded. The Haotian sect high-level combat strength was finally beginning to take shape. Grandfather at rank 96, Douluo at rank 92, Ming Shu at rank 91, 3 title Douluo in one sect. Looking across the entire Douluo continent, there weren't many forces that could afford to look down on us. More importantly, these 3 title Douluo were not outsiders. Grandfather is my most trusted family member. Douluo has already pledged his life to the Haoyan sect, and Ming Shu and his wife had just sworn their oath of loyalty. As long as we solidified the sect's foundation, the Hodi and sect would truly be able to stand firm. Grandfather and Douluo couldn't help but laugh at this. They thought of Feng Ji and Chen Xing. Those two probably still have no idea just how far the waste they drove away has brought the Haoyan sect. I didn't continue talking about the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, though. The past is the past. The most important thing now was to find a true home for the Haoyan sect. I had Uncle Ming and Chao Tianxiang return to Balak City, first to relocate all the clan members in the Soul Beast Academy to the outskirts of Tiando City. The academy had a considerable number of teachers and students, and the Ming family itself had a large clan. If they all moved here, the temporary camp would need to be expanded several times over. This was precisely why I needed to choose a site urgently. The two didn't hesitate at all, even if it meant abandoning years of established business. They were willing to start anew with the Haoyan sect. After they left, I looked around the temporary camp. This place was small to begin with. It would be impossible to accommodate both the Ming family and the entire academy here in the future, let alone serve as the sect's headquarters. Moreover, being close to Tiando City meant too many prying eyes from various factions. Disciples training and operating here would always be subject to surveillance from the imperial family and other sections. For the Haoyan sect to truly develop, it needed a territory that belonged completely to itself. Grandfather also saw the problem. This place can't even accommodate the current staff properly, let alone recruit new disciples. The search for a proper sect headquarters must be started immediately. I had already begun screening locations in my mind, places with enough area, convenient for disciples to acquire soul rings, and with natural barriers for defense. Ideally, we could place the academy and the sect together, allowing young disciples to receive training under the Haoyan sect's own system from the very start. I was about to discuss the location with them when footsteps came from outside the hall. Yin pushed the door open and walked in. She looked at us, then at the sect blueprints on the table. Sect leader, if you're just looking for a place that can accommodate both the sect and the academy, I think I know of one. She said the place was on the outskirts of the Sans. A forest. Yin told me that the soul beast resources in the Sunset Forest were extremely abundant, enough to support the daily hunts of the sect's disciples. Since there were no 100,000-year soul beasts there, its long-term aura wouldn't pose an uncontrollable fatal threat. As long as we found a spot of open land near the forest, nestled between mountains and water, we could establish the real Ling Tian sect. Upon hearing this, Uncle Douluo slapped his thigh. The Sunset Forest had originally been his territory. He could map out every type of terrain and every dangerous area with his eyes closed. Establishing the sect on the outskirts would not only make it convenient to set up poison arrays, but would also allow the disciples to take fewer detours when obtaining spirit rings in the future. Grandfather also felt this location was suitable. Relying on the Sunset Forest, we could also use the natural terrain to construct defensive lines. Yin then proposed that since the Alien Beast Academy was going to move its entire base, it might as well be built right next to the sect, serving as the base for Ling Tian sect to train its younger disciples. In 2 more years, the continent-wide Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament would begin. By then, we could use the Academy's cohort to form a team belonging to Ling Tian sect. This team wouldn't just be vying for a ranking. It was about putting Ling Tian sect's training methods directly in front of everyone. Soul Masters across the continent would see with their own eyes just how high an ordinary talent could rise after joining Ling Tian sect, and those truly promising young people would naturally know which side to choose. After hearing this, I immediately made the decision. The outskirts of the Sunset Forest would be the future sect site of Ling Tian sect. As for the elite tournament 2 years later, it would be the most suitable stepping stone for Ling Tian sect to announce its rise to the entire continent. As as our team won the championship, all young soul masters would remember Ling Tian sect. When it came time to recruit disciples in the future, we wouldn't need to search everywhere for talent. The talent would come to us. I instructed Ming Shu and Chao Tianxiang to return and consolidate the academy's teachers and students as quickly as possible, ensuring not a single one was left behind. In 2 years, I wanted them to forge a champion team capable of sweeping all academies in the elite tournament. Ming Shu was fired up and immediately guaranteed he wouldn't let me down. After they left to carry out their orders, Grandfather raised another issue. The combined scale of the sect and the Advanced Soul Master Academy would definitely be substantial. If we only hired ordinary craftsmen, the construction would not only be too slow, but the defenses and standards would also be unworthy of Ling Tian Sect. I looked at grandfather. Since he brought it up himself, he must have someone suitable in mind. Grandfather told me that when it came to architecture and defensive engineering, there was one family on the entire Douluo continent that no one dared to claim second place. The Yuji clan, one of the 4 single attribute clans. Their entire clan possessed top-tier defensive martial souls. They were not only experts at fortifying fortresses, but had also done extensive research on large-scale buildings and mechanical defenses. If they were to take on a job, they could build Ling Tian Sect into a truly impregnable fortress. Uncle Douluo reminded us that the Yuji clan had once been attached to the Haoyan Sect, but when the Haoyan Sect closed its doors, they were cast aside like discarded pawns, directly abandoned. The clan leader, Niu Gao, had a temper as stubborn and nasty as they came, and since then, he had become extremely averse to all major sections. Getting him to take on Ling Tian Sect's construction project probably wouldn't be easy. Grandfather, however, didn't take it seriously. If Niu Gao wasn't willing to talk, he would just use his fists to reason with him. I shook my head after hearing this. Since the Yuji clan possessed such skills, it would be a waste to only have them build the sect structures once. What I wanted wasn't just their construction labor, but the entire Yuji clan. As long as they were willing to join, they could form their own independent Yu-Hall, becoming the defensive foundation of Ling Tian Sect. Yin was a bit worried. The Yuji clan had been abandoned once by the Haoyan Sect. How could they easily trust another sect? I told him that what they truly rejected wasn't sects per se, but the fear of being treated as expendable pawns again. As long as we gave them respect, offered true protection, and provided resources they couldn't refuse, Niu Gao had no reason to keep his clan's future trapped in Longxing City. Furthermore, my goals weren't limited to just one clan. The Yuji clan excelled in architecture and defense. The Minji clan possessed extreme speed, making them best suited for reconnaissance and intelligence transmission. The Puji clan were proficient in alchemy and also possessed formidable offensive power. If I could bring these 3 clans into Ling Tian Sect, the most critical divisions the sect lacked could be immediately established with a complete framework. The Yuji clan would be responsible for sect defenses, the Minji clan for intelligence and reconnaissance, and the Puji clan for alchemy and combat. Coupled with the educational system of the Alien Beast Academy, Ling Tian Sect would form a complete training and operational chain from top to bottom. This wasn't simply adding a few more personnel, but completely solidifying the sect's foundation in one go. Uncle Douluo nodded in agreement after hearing this, but he quickly asked me why I hadn't included the Li Ji clan. I gave only one answer, Tian. I don't need that old fossil who regards Tang Hao as his lifelong master. Regardless of what Tang Hao did, he would grovel without any bottom line. This kind of blind loyalty. Today he could ignore his entire clan's future for Tang Hao, and tomorrow he might bite Ling Tian's sect in the back for Tang Hao's sake. My sect does not need a dog that might turn on its master at any moment. As for the other 3 clans, they had been abandoned by the Haoyan sect for years and now harbored only resentment towards it. Joining Ling Tian Sect now would not only grant them the backing of 3 titled Dalu, an elder, a poison master, and myself, but also allow them to be founding elders. Whether in terms of status or resources, this was far better than continuing their struggles alone. Once the plan was finalized, I asked Grandfather to open a spatial passageway directly. In the blink of an eye, Grandfather, Uncle Douluo, and I arrived outside Longxing City. Before long, a massive mansion, fortified like a fortress, appeared before us. A heavy plaque bore only 4 characters: Yuji Izu, the Yuji clan. Uncle Douluo strode up to the door and shouted inside with his spirit power, "Old Rhino, an honored guest has arrived. Why aren't you coming out to welcome them?" The sound instantly spread throughout the entire mansion. Before long, the heavy gates slowly swung open, and a burly man with a frame like an iron tower strode out. He was Niu Gao, the clan leader of the Yuji clan. Niu Gao first saw Grandfather, and then Uncle Douluo, and his expression immediately darkened. "Senior Dugu and Senior Douluo, what are you 2 doing at my Yuji clan? You're not with the 7 treasure glazed tile sect and the Heaven Do royal family anymore? My old Niu can't afford to associate with you." Grandfather told him his news was outdated. He had already left the 7 treasure glazed tile sect and was now an elder of Ling Tian Sect, and I was the sect leader of Ling Tian Sect, his grandson. Niu Gao looked me up and down, and seeing how young I was, the disdain on his face was barely concealed. Ling Tian Sect? I've never heard of it. The Yuji clan has long established a rule that we will never again attach ourselves to any sect. Please take your leave. He turned to close the door, but I called out to him directly. Clan leader Niu, the Haoyan sect treated you as disposable pawns back then, but that doesn't mean every sect in the world is as cowardly and incompetent as them. Niu Gao halted abruptly, fury instantly flaring in his eyes. He warned me not to think that just because I had 2 2 title Douluo backing me up, I could use the Haotian sect to humiliate the Yuji clan. I didn't argue with him, simply stating that I was here to discuss a transaction. Ling Tian sect needed to establish an absolutely secure sect foundation, and no one on the continent was more suitable for this task than the Yuji clan. Niu Gao continued to refuse, saying he would never take on work for a sect. I raised 3 fingers and laid out 3 conditions. I'm not asking the Yuji clan to serve us. I'm inviting them to become founding elders of the sect. Upon joining, you will form your own independent U-Hall, with internal affairs still managed by Niu Gao. Second, the U-Hall will have access to the sect's core resources, and the clan's promising talents will receive focused cultivation. Third, and most importantly, Ling Tian's sect currently has 1 ranked 96 peak Super D Dalu and 2 ordinary titled Dalu. As long as the Yuji clan agrees, from this day forward, any force that wants to bully them will have to answer to Ling Tian sect first. The protection the Haotian sect failed to give them, my Ling Tian sect can provide. Niu Gao was completely stunned upon hearing this. 3. Title Douluo. This level of backing surpassed the vast majority of mainland sections. In the past, the Yuji clan's biggest lack was never construction skills, but someone willing to stand up and back them. When the Haotian sect was at its peak, they were willing to build fortresses for them and send their clansmen to the battlefield. But the moment the Haotian sect closed its mountain gates, they were immediately left to fend for themselves, abandoned and uncared for. For years, they had guarded a single mansion, often unable to even secure basic cultivation resources for their young clansmen. Uncle Douluo then deliberately mentioned that the Yuji clan wasn't our first recruitment target. Meng Shu and Chao Tianxiang had already joined Ling Tian's sect, and with my help, Meng Shu had broken through his bottleneck, absorbing his 9th spirit ring to become a rank 91 Dragonwall. Chao Tianxiang had also broken through to level 70. The couple's combined strength was enough to contend with a super duo. The entire Meng family and the Alien Beast Academy were also in the process of relocating to the new site of Ling Tian sect. Niu Gao's breathing grew heavier. He couldn't believe that Meng Shu, who had been stuck at the Soul Dalu level for years, had actually broken through to Title Dalu. The look he gave me no longer held any contempt. He asked me if I could truly help Soul Masters break through their bottlenecks. I told him that Meng Shu was the best proof. I hadn't tempted him with empty words, but had shown him that Ling Tian sect was willing to provide real resources and to let everyone who joined share in future growth opportunities. The Yuji clan had been suppressed by the Spirit Hall for years, and life hadn't been easy. Once they joined Ling Tian's sect, I would take on all that pressure. Furthermore, my goals weren't limited to just the Yuji clan. I also planned to recruit the Paji clan and the Min Ji clan. Then their old comrades could be reunited within Ling Tian's sect, no longer having to look at anyone else's face. When Niu Gao heard the names Old White Bird and Old Goat, the guardedness in his eyes finally began to waver. Grandfather, however, had grown impatient. He told Niu Gao to give a straight answer, saying that if it weren't for my interest in the Yuji clan, he wouldn't have bothered standing at the door for so long. Niu Gao's expression shifted continuously. Finally, he stepped aside, yielding the entrance to the Yuji clan. This gesture seemed simple, just making way, but in reality, it signified that he had loosened the defenses he had kept locked for years. At the very least, after hearing my conditions, he was willing to give Ling Tian sect a chance. 3 of you, please come in. This matter concerns the future of my entire clan, young and old. Let's sit down and talk in detail. Grandfather and I exchanged a glance and walked into the Yuji clan's estate. Niu Gao led us all the way to the reception hall. After closing the door himself, he looked at me with unprecedented seriousness. Sect leader Han, since you want me to bring my entire clan to join you, then lay out your true cards. What kind of sect are you preparing to establish? I wasn't building just any ordinary sect, but a fortress capable of housing the main sect's Advanced Soul Master Academy and all its major halls. The location was set the outskirts of the Sunset Forest. There, I would establish the main sect and construct an academy of sufficient scale. Money was no object. I only wanted the best plans, the strongest defenses, and a layout that would ensure the long-term development of the Heavenswell sect. Old Nyo's eyes lit up immediately upon hearing this. As a man who had studied architecture his entire life, he loved grand projects like this. The Sunset Forest had natural formations and soul beast barriers. As long as we utilized the valleys and river channels to connect the city walls with a main peak, we could form a colossal south-facing fortress complex. The main sect would house the high-level executives and core disciples. The academy would nurture young soul masters. The Hall of Control and the future Hall of Concealment and Hall of Strategy would each establish their own zones around the main sect. This way, no matter which direction the enemy attacked from, they would first hit the defense lines forged by the U-Clan. As long as the site was large enough and funds were sufficient, he was confident he could build the continent's most fortified bastion, one that even a titled Douluo would struggle to breach easily. But old Nyo was still concerned about one thing. He asked if the promise I'd made outside the door was serious. I told him that as long as the Yu clan joined the Heavens Will Sect, they would be family from that day forward. Anyone who dared to touch the Yu clan will be shaking the very foundation of the Heavens Will Sect. My grandfather and Uncle Dugu would be their strongest backing. At that moment, grandfather released a wisp of his aura. The pressure of a 96th level peak Super Dalu instantly made old Nyo discard all his reservations. He slammed the table and declared that since Sect Master Hanan D, the two lords thought so highly of him, his Yu clan was in. From that moment on, there would be no more single attribute Yu clan in the world, only the Heavens Will Sect Hall of Control. I stood up and formally addressed him as Hall Master Nyo. He grasped my hand, a genuine smile appearing on his face for the first time. For him, this wasn't just accepting a construction project. It was the Yu clan finally finding a new home. They would no longer be disposable vassals for major sects, but elders with the right to participate in the construction and decide their own future. Then, as if remembering something, he asked if I was also planning to recruit Old Bai, the White Clan, and Old Shan, the Yang Clan. I immediately understood and asked if Hall Master Nyo had news of them. He told me that the 4 single attribute clans held a gathering every 2 years. The meeting point in 5 days happened to be in Dragon Rising City, which was the territory of the Yu clan. Grandfather and Uncle Duga laughed at this. It was like a pillow arriving just as one felt sleepy. I told old Nyo to have his people pack their belongings first. After the gathering, the Hall of Control and the other 2 clans would head to the Sunset Forest together. However, old Nyo warned me that Yang Wudi and Bai He were even more difficult to handle than him, especially Yang Wudi of the Broken Clan. He was like a powder keg ready to explode. I told him not to worry. The Broken Clan had something they couldn't refuse, and the Min Clan had what they lacked most. 5 days were enough for me to pull these 2 clans into the Heavens Will Sect. Yang Wudi was obsessed with alchemy his whole life, and the fragrant Chihuahua immortal herb was the absolute nemesis of all poisons in the world. This immortal herb was merely a treasure to others, but to Yang Wudi, it was more attractive than any amount of gold or soul bones. As long as I placed it before him, the Broken Clan would have a reason to sit down and talk. As for the Min Clan, they possessed the continent's ultimate speed, yet because they lacked skill in combat and hunting, they had been nearly destitute for years. What they lacked wasn't dignity, but the stable resources to keep their entire clan alive. The Heavens Will Sect could provide them with both cultivation resources and a position in the intelligence hall, allowing their extreme speed to be truly valuable. Moreover, the Min Clan still possessed a crystal blood dragon ginseng, another immortal herb I had my eye on. I also asked about Titan of the Li clan. Old Nyo smiled it bitterly, saying that old Titan was absolutely loyal to Tang Hao. If he heard anyone speak ill of the Hao Tian sect, he would fight them on the spot. I looked at old Nyo and told him that as long as Titan didn't make the first move, the Heavens Will Sect wouldn't harm him. But if he dared to stand in the Heavens Will Sect's way, old Nyo immediately stated that although he valued old friendships, he was not foolish. He remembered all too well how the Hao Tian sect had treated them back then. If Titan truly dared to block old Bai and old Shan, there would be no need for grandfather or Uncle Dugu to act. He would be the first to fall out with Titan. With the matter settled, we temporarily stayed at the Yu clan's residence, waiting for the other 3 clans to show up in 5 days. During these 5 days, old Nyo would seal off all information, ensuring no one knew that I and the 2 titled Douluo were already staying in his mansion. When Titan, Yang Wudi, and Bai He all entered, we would present our terms again. Who was truly seeking a way out for their clan, and who just wanted to cling to the Hao Tian sect's nameplate, would become clear at a glance. Uncle Dugu even chuckled, saying that once those few enter the Yu clan's gates, pretending they hadn't heard anything wouldn't be so easy. Old Nyo also agreed to personally keep his clansmen in check, making sure not a single whisper leaked out before the gathering began. But late that night, I didn't rest immediately. Instead, I asked grandfather if my parents had sent any word over the years. The smile on his face vanished instantly. He told me that it had been 6 whole years. My father, Han Feng, and my mother, Guyu, had entrusted me to him and gone traveling together, seeking an opportunity to break through to title Dalu. In the first year or 2, they would occasionally send letters telling him where they were. But afterward, they seemed to vanish into thin air, with no more news. Grandfather had even mobilized all the intelligence channels of the 7 Treasures Glaze sect, yet still couldn't find a trace of them. Although the Douluo continent was vast, 289th level peak soul Douluos couldn't possibly leave no trail whatsoever if they were still walking upon it. The only explanations were either that they had entered a secluded secret realm, or had already left the continent. His voice carried a heavy sorrow as he mentioned that those hidden realms were fraught with peril, and there was a high chance they had encountered an accident and were no longer alive. I didn't let him continue. I declared that I wanted to see them alive or see their Bodhi. Once the Heavens Will Sect established its own intelligence network, I would find them myself. No matter how many mountains I had to traverse or seas I had to cross, I needed to know what they had experienced in these 6 years. The future intelligence hall of the Heavens Will Sect wouldn't just be for spying on enemies. It would also be my most crucial tool for finding my parents. Grandfather patted my shoulder and tried to comfort me, saying that my parents were both 89th level peak soul Douluos. Unless they ran into a true title Dalu, their combined strength wouldn't easily let them fall. They were likely just trapped in some secret realm, unable to escape for now. I knew it was just comfort, but in the absence of bad news, that was already the best news. For now, the most important thing was still the gathering of the 4 clans in 5 days. Only by bringing those 3 major clans into the fold would the Heavens Will Sect have its true foundation. And at that time, I had no idea that far away, across the sea, my father and mother were standing on the edge of a desolate island. Half a year ago, they had rented a ship from Hanhai City to go out to sea in search of a breakthrough, but they had accidentally trespassed into the territory of the deep-sea demon Spirit King. That sea overlord had pursued them relentlessly, smashing their ship to pieces. Though they managed to escape the demon spirit sea, the waves had swept them an unknown distance away, eventually washing them ashore on this desolate island. Since then, they had no idea where they were, and could find no route back to the Douluo continent. They had already summoned their martial souls, the Golden Earth Dragon King, and the ancient dragon Void Eye, and pressed forward against the churning sea. Not far from them, 2 mountain-sized 100,000-year soul beasts were locked in a frenzied battle. Tsunamis crashed against the island in waves, but were forced back by their combined soul power. My father excitedly told my mother that they had both recently broken through to the 90th level. They had been worrying about where to find their 9th soul rings, and now 200,000-year soul beasts had practically delivered themselves to their doorstep. My mother watched the battle and understood his plan. As long as the 2 beasts wounded each other severely, they could reap the benefits, possibly each gaining a 100,000-year soul ring. Half an hour later, the battle at sea finally neared its end. The surrounding waters were churned into a bloody mess. The Shinming turtle's shell was covered in claw marks, and the Blood Soul Molten Sand's body was torn by several deep gashes. The 100,000-year Blood Soul Molten Sand dragged its broken body into the deep sea. The other Shinming turtle, though covered in blood and with a wound on its neck deep enough to show bone, still relentlessly pursued it. My mother was waiting for this moment. She used the spatial abilities of her ancient dragon to instantly appear on the Shinming turtle's back, driving her Sinbon bone spurs deep into the wound on its neck. My father simultaneously launched the Golden Earth Dragon King's strike, smashing into the turtle's head. The heavily wounded Shinming turtle thrashed wildly, the resulting waves nearly submerging the entire island. But my mother kept the pressure on its neck wound while my father struck blow after blow, not giving it any chance to turn the tables. Under their combined assault, the gravely wounded 100,000-year beast quickly lost its life. A circle of a bright, blood-red 100,000-year soul ring slowly rose from its corpse. A 100,000-year soul beast would inevitably drop a soul bone. To them, this was a godsend, but there was only one soul bone. My father could have absorbed the Shinming turtle's defensive and water attributes to strengthen his Golden Earth Dragon King, but he decided to let my mother have it. He argued that with the ancient dragon's spatial abilities, she would have an easier time surviving in the vast sea. As long as she broke through to title Douluo first, they would have a true ace in the hole for their safety. My mother didn't refuse and sat cross-legged beside the Shinming turtle's corpse, beginning to draw in the Crimson Soul Ring. My father, holding his Golden Earth Dragon King spear, stood guard before her, vigilant of the surrounding sea. But just as my mother was absorbing the soul ring, my father suddenly turned his head. On the distant horizon, over a dozen massive wing-like shapes appeared. They weren't sea soul beasts, but an unprecedented type of steel warship. Each giant vessel was larger and more intricately built than any ship from Hanhai City. Their hulls were entirely metallic, and from their decks emanated waves of unfamiliar yet powerful soul power fluctuations. My father had never seen any faction on the Douluo continent possess a naval force of this scale. At the top of each mast flew an unfamiliar flag, a blazing sun and a crescent moon. And on the deck of the lead flagship, an unfamiliar 93rd level titled Dalu was staring with a gaze like silver moonlight towards my mother, who was absorbing the 100,000-year soul ring, just as that steel fleet approached the desolate island. The crimson light surrounding Mother finally fully receded. She slowly opened her eyes, and space itself seemed to crack open a fissure in her gaze. At the 91st level peak, Mother had succeeded. The 100,000-year soul ring not only allowed her to cross the threshold of title Douluo, but also brought her two ninth soul skills at once. The first was called Void-Penning Space Rift, enabling ultra-long-distance spatial teleportation and forming a folded space barrier around her body that could forcibly deflect even an attack from a limit Douluo. The second was the Spatial Attack Soul skill, most suited for the ancient dragon martial soul. With this bow in hand and this skill at her command, Mother finally possessed the foundation to advance and retreat freely across the sea. She also chose her own title. Since grandfather had already taken the name Ancient Douluo, she would use space as her title, Space Douluo Guyu. Before father could celebrate, he pointed towards the unfamiliar fleet in the distance. Mother saw the sun and moon flag on the ships and confirmed they were not from Douluo continent. Father urged her to first fuse the soul bone left by the black mystic turtle. Only by converting all their gains into strength could they face the unknown enemy with confidence. The torso bone radiating deep blue light flew out from the turtle's corpse. Mother quickly completed the fusion, her soul power once again rising, directly breaking through to level 92. This 100,000-year torso bone also gave her two soul skills. The first was Black Mystic Gravity Field, capable of altering gravity within a kilometer radius, reaching up to 100 times normal gravity. The second was Absolute Defense Barrier, which could summon the Black Mystic Turtle's Phantom to immunize against physical attacks while partially reflecting soul power damage. Spatial teleportation, spatial barriers, gravity suppression, combined with absolute defense. Mother, having just broken T. Rough to title Douluo, already possessed astonishing defensive capabilities. Just as she finished fusing the soul bone, the flagship in the distance raised a white flag and slowly approached the barren island. The fleet's supreme commander was named Kong Zhao, a level 93 Silver Moon Douluo. He knew Mother was at level 92, and father had also broken through to level 90, so he flew alone to the island. He proactively stated they had no ill intent. He told father and mother he came from the Sun Moon Empire and was the supreme commander of the expeditionary fleet. This sea area did not belong to Douluo continent. They had very likely crossed the ocean and arrived near another continent. Father had never heard of the Sun Moon Empire, and the spear in his hand remained at the ready. Kong Zhao, however, did not take offense and instead invited them to join the Sun Moon Empire. If they agreed, both would receive positions as imperial advisors, along with top-tier cultivation resources. His words were courteous, but the fleet remained at a safe distance, clearly also on guard against these two newly empowered title Dalu. Father did not lower his spear just because the other side showed goodwill, and Mother's spatial fluctuations remained locked on the flagship's direction. Father and Mother exchanged a glance and directly refused the offer. They had left Douluo continent to find opportunities for breakthroughs, not to pledge allegiance to an unfamiliar empire. Kong Zhao did not insist, but instead proposed another solution. If they wanted to return to their homeland, they would need the fleet's sea charts and supplies. They might as well board the ship and get acquainted. Father and Mother, indeed lacking navigational routes, followed Kong Zhao onto the flagship. But as soon as they reached the deck exhibition area, the item Kong Zhao presented made them stop in their tracks. It was a delicate metal cylinder. Kong Zhao merely infused it with soul power, and the cylinder rapidly expanded into a blue glowing cannon, a level 4 fixed mount soul cannon. It required no soul rings, no need to execute soul skills, just inject soul power, and it could unleash the full force strike of a soul ancestor. Father then looked over the entire fleet, those steel giants that could navigate the sea swiftly, and the soul masters on deck using crystal scrying devices to observe the distance. All this indicated that soul tools were no longer toys for a select few, but had been genuinely integrated into the Sun Moon Empire's navigation and warfare. For the first time, Mother realized that soul power could be transformed into attacks not only through soul rings, but also through metals and special patterns. Kong Zhao then produced a ring with a storage space of a full 100 cubic meters, yet such a storage soul tool was merely an entry-level creation for soul engineers in the Sun Moon Empire. The soul tools long lost on Douluo continent had actually developed into a complete system on this other continent. Father immediately asked what the strongest soul engineer in the Sun Moon Empire could truly achieve. Kong Zhao told him the Empire's strongest soul engineer had reached level 7. The level 7 soul tools they crafted were enough for Soul Saint to challenge a soul Douluo, and on a large-scale battlefield, they could even directly tip the scales of victory. Father and Mother only needed to exchange a single glance to simultaneously grasp the value of this technology. If they could bring the soul tool system back to Douluo continent, the balance of power between the two great empires in the Spirit Hall could be completely rewritten. They seized the opportunity, stating that they currently had no way to find their way back, and asked if they could head to the Sun Moon continent to gain an in-depth understanding of soul tools. Kong Zhao, already intent on recruiting two titled Daluo, agreed on the spot, promising to treat them as honored guests and that the Sun Moon Empire's Soul Engineer Academy would open its doors to them. He even brought out a nautical chart to show them the direction of these waters. As long as they followed the fleet, they would have a chance to reach Sun Moon continent, exactly what they needed most right now. Father and mother acted merely curious on the surface, but in their hearts, they had already made a decision. First, learn the soul tool technology, then find a way to bring it back to Douluo continent. And I, at that time, had no idea that not only had my parents both crossed the level 90 threshold, they had already come into contact with another force potent enough to reshape the entire continent. 5 days passed quickly. The official gathering of the 4 clans, the Longxing Qingyu clan, began. This gathering took place only once every 2 years. Normally, the 4 clans struggled on their own, only drawing closer during these meetings. Niu Gao had dared to invite them all, because he had already decided to entrust the future of the Yu clan to Lin Tianzong. The Li clan's Tian, the Min clan's Bai He, and the Hua clan's Yang Wudi filed into the reception hall one after another. Tian sensed something amiss the moment he entered. The Yu clan manor was too quiet. Niu Gao mentioned he had invited some honored guests, and Yang Wudi immediately frowned. The 4-clan gathering had never been open to outsiders, but he also had no interest in meeting any honored guests. His face was haggard. The Min clan's circumstances in recent years were clearly even more dire than Niu Gao had suggested. I walked out from behind the screen. My gaze fell directly on Yang Wudi. If I had a fragrant Qilua immortal herb that could further the Broken Clan's alchemy, clan leader Yang, would you still consider me an outsider? Yang Wudi's head snapped up, his eyes locked onto me. The fragrant Qilua immortal herb, that was a legendary bane to all poisons. And to him, obsessed with alchemy, it was more precious than an ordinary soul bone. But he didn't believe such an immortal herb would appear in the hands of a young man. Without further explanation, I produced the fragrant Qilua immortal herb. Its fragrance instantly filled the hall, and Yang Wudi's breathing turned ragged. I then turned to Bai. If the Min clan joins Lin Tianzong, all their members' livelihoods and cultivation resources will be fully provided by the sect. The Min clan's speed talents will also form the core of Lin Tianzong's intelligence division. I also told Bai He that if the sect ever acquired a soul tool system, it would prioritize equipping the Min clan with gear suited for long-range reconnaissance and rapid communication, turning them from mere speedsters on the battlefield into Lin Tianzong's sharpest eyes. Bai He was visibly tempted after hearing this, but before he could speak, Tian slammed the table. Old Rhino, you've colluded with outsiders to scheme against your own brothers. The moment he finished speaking, Grandfather appeared before Tian. The oppressive aura of a level 96 super Dalu instantly pressed down on Tian, making his legs buckle. He desperately urged his soul power, but couldn't even straighten his back. Grandfather coldly told him that Lin Tianzong sought to recruit those with ambition, not stubborn fossils clinging to a memorial tablet of past glory. Tian gritted his teeth, but couldn't utter a single retort. He knew very well that if Grandfather wished it, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to leave the reception hall. Niu Gao also stepped forward. When Clear Sky Sect abandoned the 4 clans back then, they didn't care whether we lived or died. Now I'm offering the 3 clans a path to survival. Why should Tian drag everyone else down to suffer with him? Young Wudi had long stopped paying attention to Tian. His eyes never left the fragrant Qilua immortal herb. Bai He, meanwhile, thought of the young clansmen who couldn't even obtain cultivation resources. The Min clan lacked sufficient combat strength and refused to sell their services to other powers, so they had relied on a few old friends for years. Many clansmen couldn't even feed themselves properly. If they kept clinging to their dignity, they would only drag the entire clan to ruin. Finally, he told me that as long as his people could survive, he was willing to hear Lin Tianzong's terms first. But Tian was still shouting about the kindness of Clear Sky Sect. I walked up to him. That so-called kindness was letting your clansmen struggle in poverty and humiliation for the sake of an empty memory. You're not repaying a debt. You're sacrificing your entire clan's future to satisfy your own loyalty. Tian roared in anger, but I turned to Niu Gao and asked him to explain to Tian what Lin Tianzong's principles were. The kindness Tian spoke of belonged to him alone, but the burden fell on every descendant of the Li clan. In my eyes, such loyalty wasn't worthy of anyone's respect. Niu Gao straightened his back. The sect protects me. I protect the sect. Anyone in Lin Tianzong, even an outer disciple, will never be subjected to the slightest injustice. But he finally made up his mind. He asked me if the Min clan, after joining, could truly escape their life of displacement. I gave him my firm assurance. In the future, any soul tool technology acquired by Lin Tianzong will be prioritized for outfitting the Min clan with reconnaissance and mobility equipment. Though Bai he didn't understand what soul tools were, he could tell I wasn't just making empty promises. Yang Wudi was the first to pledge his commitment. Since Old Rhino has already joined, as long as this immortal herb is real, the Broken Clan has no reason to refuse. He didn't even haggle, because for the Broken Clan, being able to study the fragrant Chihuahua immortal herb was akin to glimpsing the possibility of a new dawn. From this day forward, my life Yang Wudi's belongs to Lin Tianzhou. But he also gave me a deep bow. The Min clan is willing to join Lin Tianzhou. I declared on the spot that after joining Lin Tianzhou, their three clans would no longer be old friends merely helping each other scrape by. They would be the Sect's core divisions, guarding it together. As long as the Sect developed, the resources and dignity they had lost, I would reclaim for them one by one. One by one, the three old friends stood by my side. Tian finally understood he could no longer stop this. Grandfather withdrew his pressure and warned him never to obstruct Lin Tianzhou again. The hall fell silent for a long time. Tian looked at Niu Gao, then at Yang Wudi and Bai He, and finally slowly rose from his chair. Have you truly decided? Titan stared at his three old friends, his voice suddenly aged by 10 years. To abandon the Haotian sect and follow a sect you've never even heard of. Is this your final choice? No one answered with hesitation. Young Wudi first tucked the Chihuahua tulip and the fragrant Chihuahua and then looked coldly at Titan. What you call loyalty is nothing more than moving yourself. If the Haotian sect truly regarded us as its own, it wouldn't have abandoned the four great clans back then. You left our clansmen to struggle for all those years. What sect leader Han gave me was a chance for the Power Clan to rise again, not a broken memorial plaque to be worshipped. But he also patted Titan's shoulder. You know better than anyone how many of the Min clan have died over the years. We're not betraying anyone. We just want our descendants to survive. Niu Gao let out a loud laugh. When we follow the Haotian sect, the Strength Clan could only cower in Longxing City. But after joining the Lintian sect, I can finally hold my head high. Old Titan, if you don't believe me, stay and watch. In less than 3 years, the entire continent will know the name of the Lintian sect. Their attitudes were already clear enough, and I didn't press further. Titan, if the Strength Clan wishes to keep its loyalty, I won't stop you. But from now on, if it uses the Haotian sect's banner to interfere with the Lintian sect's arrangements in Tiando City, I will not go easy. Titan's frame swayed. His gaze swept over the faces of his three old friends one by one. He seemed to want to say more, but in the end, it was just a long sigh. I hope you won't regret today's decision. With those words, Titan turned and left the hall. His back was deeply desolate, but no one present chased after him, because everyone understood that those who had truly abandoned the four great clans were never the people here today, but the Haotian sect that had retreated behind its own shad. I was back then. After Titan left, I formally accepted the Min, the Power, and the Strength clans. From this moment on, they were no longer anyone's vassals, but the three most important halls of the Lintian sect. Before the three clan leaders, I lay down rules. Once you join the Lintian sect, regardless of birth or strength, the sect will protect your family and your dignity. Whoever earns merit will receive corresponding resources. Whoever bullies fellow disciples will pay the price. I don't need them to be devoted to a plaque. I need everyone's interests to be linked, to push the Lintian sect to the pinnacle of the continent. Only after hearing these words did the three clan leaders finally set aside their last reservations. Young Wudi asked for the fragrant Chihuahua and Chihuahua tulip to be handed over to begin experimenting. In the future, once the Lintian sect obtained more soul guidance diagrams, I would let him combine alchemy and soul guidance technology to forge a unique pill system for the Power Clan. Young Wudi's eyes lit up. He'd studied medicine all his life and naturally knew what this path meant. If successful, the Power Clan would no longer need to make a living by concocting poisons. They would be courted by every major power. I also told Bai He that the Min clan's greatest advantage was speed. In the future, I would craft exclusive soul guidance equipment for them, turning them into the sharpest eyes on the continent, irreplaceable in scouting, communication, and pursuit. Bai He immediately bowed and pledged his clan's loyalty to the Lintian sect. The following actions proceeded swiftly. Niu Gao led the Strength clan in relocating. Yang Wudi and Bai He also returned to their clans to prepare for bringing all their people to the Tiando Empire. The 9-star Begonia Yi family would provide the funds, and the Strength clan would handle construction. They began to build the Lintian sect's true mountain gate and city around a valley outside the Sunset Forest. The valley was flanked by mountains on 3 sides and bordered by water on 1, convenient for defense and connected to both Tiando City and the Sunset Forest. Niu Gao personally drew up the sect's blueprints. Beyond the main hall and residences for each clan, he also set aside areas for an alchemy workshop, a soul guidance tool workshop, and a training zone for disciples. When Yang Wudi saw the herb garden reserved for the Power Clan, he felt, for the first time, that he wasn't living under someone else's roof. But he also began selecting young clansmen to establish the Lintian sect's initial intelligence network. On that same day, the Niu Yang and Bai families officially announced their entry into the Lindian sect. After the news spread, the entire Tian Empire was shaken. Grandfather, Douluo, and the Ming clan formed the Lindian sect's top strategic layer. The four great families filled in the mid-level, and with a large number of their clansmen, the newly founded Lindian sect overnight possessed the foundation of a top-tier sect. And this was only the beginning. Those who had been waiting to see me fail finally began to reassess. Some sought to send gifts and curry favor, others secretly inquired about soul guidance tools, and still others worried that the Lindian sect's rapid rise would disrupt the existing order of the Tian Empire. But regardless of their stance, they could no longer regard the Lindian sect as a flimsy construct built by a youth on A with him. Before the sect's construction was complete, we temporarily resided in a compound in Tian City. At dawn that day, I finished my night's cultivation, and my spirit power had broken through from level 57 to level 58. Just as I opened the door, I saw my grandfather approaching with a joyous expression. He didn't speak immediately, but released his formidable spirit power. Its terrifying pressure instantly enveloped the entire courtyard. Yet the power was unstable, like floodwater trapped behind a dam, ready to burst through at any moment. I immediately understood Grandfather was about to break through. Ever since condensing his spirit river, he had stood at the peak of level 96. These past days, watching the Lindian sect grow from nothing, his state of mind had finally loosened. This time, pushing to level 97, he had at least an 80% chance of success. For a titled Douluo, advancing even one level past 95 was exceptionally difficult. Countless geniuses on the continent were trapped at the same bottleneck their entire lives. If Grandfather could cross this threshold, the Lindian sect wouldn't just have a super Douluo, it would possess a true peak-level powerhouse who could move through space at will. I immediately urged Grandfather to focus on his closed-door cultivation. With Douluo guarding the sect, nothing would go wrong in the short term. But Grandfather was still uneasy. He told me that this retreat could last anywhere from a few days to half a month, and if we encountered a powerful enemy, I mustn't be reckless. I agreed with a smile and personally escorted him into the secluded chamber. But no sooner had he entered than the Lindian sect scouts came with news. Shrek Academy had arrived in Tian City, led by Flender and Yu Shaojing. Tang San and Ning Rongrong were also in the group. I guessed their purpose immediately. Shrek didn't even have official academy status to participate in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Elite competition. They had to shamelessly come to Tian City to beg for a spot using the Huangdo Academy's qualification. With Qin Ming's connection to Shrek, this shouldn't have been a problem. Unfortunately, they were too late. I didn't confront them right away. At my current strength, Tang San was no longer a worthy opponent. Besides, with Grandfather just beginning his retreat, there was no need to provoke the hidden Tang how early for the sake of a few clowns. I simply ordered my scouts to watch them closely and report any movement. After entering the city, the Shrek group first stayed at a restaurant. They planned to rest for the night and head to Huangdo Academy the next day. But before they'd even finished a single meal, a passing conversation about the Lindian sect left Ning Rongrong completely distraught. They say the Lindian sect is at its zenith, having taken in the four great clans, and with 3 titled Douluo seated within. They even say Grandfather left the Seven Treasures Glaze sect for me, and the Lindian sect's foundation is now even more formidable than that of the two empires. Ning Rongrong's chopsticks clattered onto the table, her face instantly pale. She had finally seen, with her own eyes, how high I had risen after she had pushed me away. Oscar rushed to her side, but she shoved him off. If she hadn't acted willfully back then, Grandfather wouldn't have left the Seven Treasures Glaze sect, and I wouldn't have severed ties with the Ning family. She had only wanted to use Oscar to provoke me, expecting me to bow and coax her as before. But she never imagined that once I left, I would never look back. Now, the stronger the Lindian sect grew, the more the Seven Treasures Glaze sect looked like a joke. Yu Shaojing sneered beside her, dismissing the Lindian sect as a mob and me as a mere beneficiary of my elder's power, telling Ning Rongrong not to be intimidated by a minor sect. He belittled me not because he couldn't see the Lindian sect's true strength, but because he couldn't accept my rise. His father was Thunder Douluo Yuanjin. My grandfather was Bone Douluo Gurong. We both grew up in top-tier sects. Yet his Luo Sanpao had crippled his talent, leaving him struggling past level 30 past his 50s, while I, not yet 15, had already reached heights he could only gaze at. The greater the gap, the more he wanted to prove that I was merely lucky. Ning Rongrong, however, could no longer bear it. In tears, she rushed out of the restaurant. Oscar immediately followed. Though Tang San didn't mock me openly, in his heart, he had begun to dread the Lindian sect. 3 titled Douluo, the 4 great clans, and the influx of soul guidance technology into Tian City. Any one of these could disrupt his plans, especially the soul guidance tools if He could be mass-produced. His proud Tang sect hidden weapons would no longer be his unique ace. The scouts later told me that when Tang San heard the discussions in the restaurant, his expression darkened. Knowing him, he was probably already marking me for death in his mind. Yu Xiaojing, however, tried to reassure him. As long as Shrek secured Huangdo's slot and won the elite competition, all the fame would be theirs. He even arrogantly claimed that soul guidance tools were mere tricks, and that true strength lay only in one's martial soul and cultivation. At the entrance of the restaurant, some Huangdo students happened to be discussing my theories on soul guidance. The longing in those young soul masters' eyes made Tang San realize, for the first time, that once soul guidance tools truly spread, the demand for his hidden weapons would plummet. His greatest pillar for rebuilding the Tang Sect could well be undermined from its very foundation. He could only suppress this anxiety because Qin Ming had already promised to arrange everything. In their view, Huangdo's competition slot was already in Shrek's pocket. The next morning, the Shrek group arrived at the academy gates with high expectations. Qin Ming, however, stopped them with a complicated expression. What had been agreed upon had suddenly changed. The review process for external participants at Huangdo had become extremely strict overnight. Flender frowned. Yu Xiaojing insisted that Qin Ming take them to see the 3 education committee members. He couldn't believe that Huangdo Academy would reject Shrek's geniuses for a newly established sect. Qin Ming could only smile bitterly and tell them the 3 committee members weren't even at the academy. They were currently at the Lintian sect's residence, discussing soul guidance tool teaching cooperation with me. I had publicly suppressed the 3 committee members once before, and they naturally harbored no goodwill toward me. But in the eyes of the Crown Prince and Emperor Shuiyi, personal pride was far less important than soul guidance technology. If Huangdo could gain early access to soul guidance tools, it might surpass other advanced academies in the future. So even if the committee members were unwilling, they had no choice but to come in person to negotiate.